Liked by the sound of violence.
Does this show, like, is this corrupting the UFC? Even though I know that's a crazy thing to ask because they, probably aren't the cleanest company in the world, but I mean, is this a huge corruption of the UFC for them to be going into business with Abu Dhabi like this?
I think that's quite a loaded question, but I would have to say not exceptionally. And here's why, because the UFC, I find it very hard to even view things from perspective of the UFC, but here, let's give this a go. From the perspective of the UFC, it's very hard for them not to take an offer like what's on the table right now from the United Arab Emirates. And the cost on them, and even the amount they have to sell their soul, is not as much as it could have been, say, with Saudi Arabia. Not as bad as they have to do when they're in Russia, and they allow Ramzan Kadyrov to have front row seats at their events. Yeah. And it's and it's not even as bad as when they have in my opinion, as when they have Donald Trump in attendance and they do hagiography propaganda documentaries for him titled Combatant in Chief. Like, I think that you want to talk about corruption and selling your soul. Absolutely, the relationship with the current United States administration is a primary example of that.
What up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. We are an MMA podcast that talks about the MMA podcast you should catch, skip, and can't miss each week. I am Pulver, pouring a dope-ass beer, which I will get to in a minute. And I'm here back yet again with my co-host, Chris Daffer. How's it going, man?
Chilling, man. Drinking a makeshift gin and tonic, but with like one of those LaCroix sparkling waters. It was like tangerine flavor, and didn't turn out. So it's a
gin and soda.
Yeah, obviously not tonic, but yeah, it just didn't turn out as good as I thought. Oh well.
Well, there you go. Well, I guess Chris started us off with our Doug Stanhope. Fucking every time. You figure after doing this bit for like a couple years now, and after owning not only a shirt that has those words on it, but also I think I have a poster somewhere that has the words on it, you think I would figure out how to say Papa Vodka presents Doug Stanhope presents, our sponsor, which is super real and definitely not just something we're drinking and not actually sponsored by. And speaking of which, I am drinking, Chris, I teased this to you before the show, but I am drinking what is arguably the quintessential old school West Coast IPA, and it's not made by Stone Brewing. If you were to guess one IPA that is the old school IPA, what beer would you guess, since I know you can't see my screen or my camera?
You said it's not Stone, right?
Not Stone in like the IPA.
Is it a San Diego brewery?
No.
Okay.
But it is a San Diego beer. Like, not actually from San Diego, but like it is widely associated with the city and California in general, I will say.
God damn it. I mean, my first guess was Sculpin.
No, not San Diego.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I asked is it San Diego, but I thought it was a trick question because it's not San Diego anymore because Ballast Point sold. So never mind. Let me try.
I didn't think about that. No, it's the IPA. Like, what's the IPA that bottle shops are tired of hearing people
yeah.
For?
See, I was thinking that was like my second guess. God damn it. So, Pliny.
Of course, yeah. I'm drinking Pliny the Elder, which, if you guys don't know, is the original kind of West Coast IPA, as far as I can. Well, that's not true. It's not the original, but it's the OG, like, whale of IPAs. And one of the IPAs got me really into IPA, to be honest.
Yeah, well, so besides that, at least in California on the West Coast, what the fuck is after Pliny, really? I don't even...
I mean, that Pliny is like the go-to old school West Coast IPA that, like, to this day is still delicious and drinkable. I mean, it's not like the tropical fucking like juicy kind of IPAs that we get down here now.
Yeah, well,
It's definitely
just a hazy overload because it's all
that
New
too.
England. I mean, it's East Coast going on to West Coast. I get it. Just like I bet
Yep.
if you go to New England, they have a fuckload of San Diego IPAs over there.
100%. I mean, Stone has a fucking location in Virginia or Vermont or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Virginia. It's in Richmond, right?
Yeah, Richmond. Yeah.
And Oscar Blues actually, I think, has a locate. Not that they're a West Coast IPA, but they made like those old school, like not as sweet, more like on the bitter side of old school IPAs. But yeah, I picked up some Pliny actually from. I wanted to give a shout out to Blind Lady Ale House down here in San Diego. Owner Lee Chase and his wife Jennifer Chase started Automatic Brewing as well as Blind Lady Ale House. I think back in the 90s, if I remember right. I want to say like 95 maybe. They've been around forever. They were like I feel like all the original names in the San Diego brewing scene that everybody always goes back to is like the Lee Chase and his wife, Carl Strauss obviously, Greg Cook from Stone, and there's like a couple other names that have been around at like different places, like Tommy Arthur from Pete Sport and eventually Lost Abbey.
Yeah, as far as Carl Strauss, it's usually his cousin who's the representative, Chris Kramer.
Right.
For those
who we've actually met and is a great guy.
Yeah, really cool guy. I've also met Lee Chase, really cool guy.
I never met Lee Chase, but I mean, he's always around.
You probably already which I'm not going to say. You probably know what brewery I work for. All I'll say is that we did a collab with Automatic.
Did you? I didn't know that.
Last year. It was decent beer.
I'm going to have to look into that.
See, now everyone who gives a shit's going to go on Instagram and just like tag at Automatic. Yeah.
They've done so many fucking collabs with everybody, including goddamn Anchorman himself. Remember they did I think the Handlebar series is based off Will Ferrell and Ron Burgundy.
Well, I know
right?
A friend of mine I went to school with told me, because Blind Lady Ale House, if I recall, is in North Park, right? Mm-hmm. I've only been. I
just got pizza from them yesterday and a bunch of crowlers and beer. So
I don't even think I've been to Blind Lady Ale House, which is a crime. I've been to Tiger, which is right next door, because I think Lee owns them too.
I believe so.
I believe
it's
they
more of like
both.
A beer bar kind of place.
Yeah. But Will Ferrell, someone told me, likes to frequent Blind Lady Ale House when he's down in San Diego. Well, so maybe that's.
I don't know if he's part investor in some of that stuff, but I know he's done like big charity events and stuff with them over the years for a long time now. They also one cool thing that's really cool about Blind Lady and all those is whenever they do like food, like we got food from them yesterday, and they always do dog adoption stuff. So they're always like, hey, there's this dog up for adoption, put a flyer in everything we send out, and that way we try and get some word out about it, which is very cool of them. So. And they're also just a pillar in the community in general. I mean, it's hard to talk about San Diego beer and craft beer in general without Lee Chase's name coming up pretty quickly. So, wanted to give them a shout out because this is where I got Pliny for. I think it was $7.50 for the bomber or for the whatever it is.
Yeah,
that
sounds about like the right price, or to kind of.
Yeah, no, it's they could easily be upcharging for that stuff, but they're just really good at the community. They're doing pizzas to go as well as they do pizza kits and stuff that you can make stuff at home. They did a lot of big drives for support for protesters and stuff like that. So just wanted to give the shout out. And also I'd never been to Blind Lady before either. It's one of those places that like I've been by a bunch of times and like I've grabbed a beer, but I haven't like hung out there really. So
yeah. How is it there? Is everything just outside because of the current...
Only to-go stuff, from what I understand. Yeah. But it's really... They have a cool system set up where basically you call in your order, whatever, and then essentially you'll drive up to a barrel, call them, they bring it out to the barrel, and you can pick it up from there. They also do walk-ups and stuff, too. But they're very like strict about mask regulations and stuff, which is cool to see. And, yeah, they're just a great pillar in the community, so I wanted to give them a big shout-out at the top. Plus, I mean, who doesn't love them some goddamn Pliny the Elder, am I right?
I mean, yeah, I still like that beer a lot. I know it's popular to hate on it. Not hate, just call it overrated.
It's
Like, overrated doesn't mean it's bad, and I could actually see why it's overrated.
It definitely is. Like, I would say...
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, a little bit.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, like, really good IPAs that are not this beer, that are way more accessible. You can find them, like, Swami's is, like, not that far off from this beer.
My favorite comparison is, or my most common go-to comparison is probably Bell's Two Hearted.
Yeah, Bell's Two Hearted is like that old school kind of like hoppy, like dry, little bitter. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say I prefer Two Hearted just because of the smell. I know that kind of seems some people. Oh, really? You just smell the beer? I mean, I don't know. I like a good smelling beer when you drink it.
Yeah, you got to put your nose in it, or else you ain't drinking it right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess on that note, where they recap 251, they recap the Wednesday card, and they preview the weekend card. So it was kind of interesting to see how everybody kind of played that. I feel like it definitely took a little bit of the response, or like the little bit of the releases out of the beginning of the week. But overall, I still feel like a ton of stuff came out that was really good. I still didn't even get around to everything I was trying to get to. Hey, and big shouts to Dan Tom, who I just saw drop in the chat, and saying he wants some craft beer now. So big shouts to you, Dan Tom. Dan Tom was drinking something really good recently.
I forgot. Dan's in Vegas, right?
Yeah. Which shouts out to if Dan Tom wants to go get some good beer, Pizza Rock, which has great pizza, has a pretty good source for some solid craft beer. So that is a one-stop shop I would recommend for sure. That is a go-to place anytime I'm in Vegas is Pizza Rock. And then there's a really good God, I wish I could remember the name of that punk bar. I'm sure Dan knows it. It's either the punk bar or the tiki bar. I get confused because it's the two places Doug Stanhope shouts out every time he goes. But both of those have some fire-ass beer selections as well. Aces and Ales is probably the place I'm thinking of, right? Is that the punk bar?
I couldn't tell you.
With a really good beer selection? I want to say it probably is. Although it might not be a punk bar. Because now everything's just blurring together in my head. Because to be fair, a little bit Blind Lady Ale House is a punk bar, considering Lee Chase grew up in the punk scene in a major way. Like, it was like, I think he said he even learned. He's like, yo, there was this zine that was getting passed around, and that's how I learned to brew beer. Hey, shouts out to Dan Tom for loving Pizza Rock. It's a great recommendation. I think I originally heard about it from Vital Vegas or one of those Twitter accounts. Good shit. Anyway, we should get to this. We should get to the podcast from this week, which actually Dan Tom may be coming up here pretty shortly. But Chris, you want to start us off with the MMA podcast you recommend out the gate this week?
Yeah. So for those who like to, I'll say sport bet instead of just gamble, right? To bet on sports.
Right. You if you have $20 you never want to see again, as the CME would say.
Like to use certain euphemisms, right, when we talk sports.
Right.
The Thick Boys Fight Club with Nick Westervelt and Ty Stewart. This is a good one.
I've never heard of this at all.
Neither have I. That's what I think.
How many C's in thick?
How many what?
C's in the word thick.
Unfortunately, it's just the standard thick. So
wait, it's spelled like THICK?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was bummed out.
I did not expect that. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, they recapped the card from last week, which is Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige. Great fight.
Or that was this week. That was Wednesday.
Oh, God damn it. That's right.
I know. It's been such a crazy week.
Yeah, whatever.
That's funny. I did that earlier this week. That's funny.
And their intro is great, and it's because it's either a person who just professionally impersonates Bruce Buffer introing their pockets, or they actually got Bruce Buffer to do the intro.
They probably got Bruce Buffer, because you can commission him to do that shit.
Yeah, so I'm 1,000% sure they got him to do that.
That's great.
Funny intro. Yeah, basically it's just them doing picks. They said, trust us, you can bet your mortgage when you pick with us.
Jesus Christ.
I'm like, all right. So yeah, it was a solid listen. I am the biggest coward. Not coward, I'm just non-committal. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I'm non-committal.
I feel like non-committal is a good phrase considering you just tripled down on not being sure about something.
Yeah, right.
So.
Yeah, it's like, I'm a coward. No, that's not sent. I don't make decisions. Oh, no. Wait, no, I'm non-committal. It's like, oh, keep going.
Yeah.
No, my favorite thing to do is help, like, my, I won't say his name. I don't want a good friend of mine who likes to bet on sports, and he usually always kind of texts me before every fight card saying, "Hey man, can you give me your picks?" And I get my picks. And
is he like 8 feet tall?
Sure, I'll lie and say yes, he is.
Okay, so it's not him.
It's not him. No. But anyways, I think if I look at my picks, I fucking got maybe like one wrong on on the card, just from yesterday, Saturday.
Oh, really?
I think I got like one wrong.
Nice.
I gotta go look him. I'm probably wrong on that, but I remember I think the last 5 fights right, and he was stoked, especially with how the co-main and main went.
That is one thing I will give a big shout out to podcasts in general about is I feel like listening to MMA podcasts, if you listen to a lot of them, especially pick related, you get such a wide variety of takes on both sides of the board. And that's why I've always loved the breakdown shows that will break down, like Dan Tom, who we shouted out in chat, is great at this. Also, Fight Site guys and the Heavy Hands and Vivisection guys are great, pointing out like areas that both fighters are strong in, and that there are ways for each fighter to win. It just kind of depends on how it plays out on the night. And that's what's really cool is you hear enough of those blends of takes, and you can, like, I know a lot of people try to avoid that. I feel like the nature of our show causes us to do the opposite, where we listen to most of it. So I feel like at a certain point, when you hear enough varieties of different takes, you kind of can blend them all together and kind of pick and choose what makes sense to you. So I feel like that's why, like, I think on the 251 card, I think I went like, how many fights were on it? 10 or 12 or 13? I think I got 2 wrong on the whole card. But a lot of that was like, oh, Ed Gallo and Saram have the great take on this, and Dan Tom had a great take on this, and Conor Rebosch and Zayden Simon had a great take on this.
And so, I think that the way you're stating this is a smart method of how you pick fights. You kind of bunch together certain takes, and then from there, either you do a majority from like that pool, or
right. It's like a blend of data collection and also
that's really what it is.
Kind of feel for how you think.
Yeah, like just like for yesterday's fights, like my buddy, who I told him, he's like, "Who you got the co-main?" I was like, "Well," I explained to him, the strengths and weaknesses of Gastelum and Hermanson. I'm like, but I really like Hermanson's, jiu-jitsu. I didn't think it'd be that early.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
Yeah. And we'll get to that later, but it's wild. And actually, that was one of the cards that I'm like, I don't get why everybody's so high on Jack Hermanson. Like, yes, Jack Hermanson matches up well with Kelvin, but also Kelvin's scrappy and is a small, like, stout dude who is real good at defending against like onslaughts and making things scrambly and tough. And so I didn't necessarily get all the picks for Hermanson, which there were a ton of. And then you watch that fight and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, actually everybody was right, and I just had completely the wrong read.
All I'll say is the main reason why I picked Hermanson was because of kind of what he was able to do to Jacare, and I was like, yeah, if your jiu-jitsu can kind of do that to his, I really like it if it goes to the ground. I'm like, well, Gaslam's probably going to get him in that position. I'm like, well, but like I said, we'll talk about it. That was such a weird fight.
It was an interesting card. There's been all the cards have been interesting out in Abu Dhabi. Also, I'm amazed that everybody's showing up relatively in shape and like looking good generally. Like, I don't understand how people are doing that other than just risking the health of the public. But hey, maybe that's not what they're doing. But yeah, man, overall, that Thick Boys Fight Club, I'm going to check that out. That sounds good.
Yeah, I found it on the reliable Listen Notes MMA aggregate website.
Listen Notes is dope as hell. I'm starting to be a bigger and bigger fan of Listen Notes. Also, they're one of the few sites like Podbay, who shouts out to both of those, since they allow downloads, which a lot of sites don't for no reason. Like, that's how RSS feeds work, is via downloads. I don't know why sites like Spotify or fucking... I mean, I know why they do it, or Stitcher, all those fucking sites. They do it so that you can't download it and they get the streaming numbers in case you click it more than once, rather than just getting a download number, in which case they can't hear how many... They don't have a number that goes up. Numbers don't go burr every time if they let you download it. So fucking
it fucking meme.
I love that shit.
I just so like it because isn't it just the animation of like the nerdy guy with tears, or no, not the tears, but the other guy. I can't remember. But
it's good shit for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that actually, so I'll go into one of my catches for this week, which was actually a show that I did not have time to get to before our Friday episode last week. But shouts out to Dan Tom in the chat. It was Protecting Neck episode 205 with Fernanda Praches that came out. It came out like just too close to our episode for me to actually listen to it. So I listened to it the morning before 251. And man, it's such a good breakdown. Like, number one, obviously, as anyone who's listened to the show knows, I am big fans of both Dan Tom and of Fernanda. I think they are two voices that I wish we heard more of in the sport, especially like two voices that, like, Dan Tom in the way that he and it feels weird since Dan Tom's in chat. I love you, buddy. And we've also talked a bunch, but point is I wish. First off, the world needs more Fernanda Praches. I think everybody can agree on that. She has a voice that and opinions that are seldom heard, and especially not on bigger platforms. And I love the uncomfortable topics she's willing to bring up. And a lot of that same shit echoes for Dan Tom as well, which, like, if you guys listen to his episode this week, a lot of uncomfortable conversations at the beginning of that episode that just kind of need to be had about the way we talk about losses and head trauma and all that kind of stuff in the sport. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just a really good example of why both Dan and Fernanda are people who I just want to hear more from. And it's just also just a fun breakdown of the card. So that was my first catch that I wanted to shout out since I did not get a chance to get to it last week. Let's see, Chris, do you have any catches for this week? Or any other ones?
I mean, not besides the ones that, I'm obviously going to talk about.
Yeah,
I had recaps that I didn't write notes
sure,
for.
You want to throw one of those out that stand out?
Yeah, Mike Hex is pretty decent, just from last night's fight card.
I believe that's the MMA fighting post show?
Their recap for Fight Island 2, or whatever it's officially called.
Here, I'll pull the official name of it up.
But he recapped with Alexander K. Lee and Jose Young's MMA fighting. I know before I kind of was like, MMA fighting, but
I mean, the outlet the outlet as an entity makes me uncomfortable with the way they handle both their reporters and their situations they put them in. We'll say, as we voiced on this show. However. Mike Heck is great. I mean, to be fair, all three of them are a lot of fun. I like Jose Youngs. I like Alex Haley, and Mike Heck I've been a big fan of for a long time. I believe it's technically called the UFC Island 2 post-fight show. And, they're them, and I feel like Zane Simon, and a lot of times it's Eddie Mercado or Vic who sits in, depending on who's free. I think most times it's Eddie. Over at the Bloody Elbow Presents feed, they also have a really good post-fight show they do called Sixth Round, which those are like my two go-tos every time after a card. I feel like, because it's just like a really good tight recap. The Sherdog Radio Network, TJ Santis and them used to also do a really good one, Beat Down After the Bell, which I think is now more generally on bigger pay-per-view cards. And then I also know TJ's also now doing some of that stuff, or at least was for a bit. I'm not sure if he still is. He was doing some of that stuff with the UFC Fight Pass Facebook page where he was doing a show, which was really good as well. So keep an eye out for that. I'm not sure if it's still happening, but I enjoyed it for sure. Well, actually, since you're shouting out recap shows, I will shout out a commentary episode that the Fight Site put out for UFC 251 on their Patreon. They put out an alternative commentary, and it was fucking a blast, man. Like, imagine, I think I've said this the last time they did a big alternative commentary for a pay-per-view card, but essentially, imagine if the JRE Fight Companion was actually talking about the fights and the fighters and what was happening, and wasn't a weird, like, hole of energy and bad takes.
So I saw some meme. I think it was on the social media page. I think it was Best Casual MMA or As Shopped as It Gets. That was like two of my favorite ones.
One of
I
those
follow.
two, yeah. Because I think
it showed Joe Rogan was wearing like an Indiana Jones or like John Marston kind of cowboy hat.
Yep.
And God damn it, I gotta find it and send it to you. But it's so fucking ridiculous. And then I know because I tried watching some of the reactions to 51. And half of it, it's just like Joey Diaz can't stop coughing or clearing his throat. I'm like, oh, it just kind of grosses me out.
I mean, to be
like
fair,
Joey Diaz. But...
I do want to give a shout out to Joey Diaz in that I did listen to that episode, and there's some bad takes going. Like, here, you know what? I'll read the tweet I tweeted out about that card here in a second, since I forget what the exact wording on what Rogan was saying was, but I remember it being so bad I turned off the show after that. But Joey Diaz did actually say in the beginning of this episode that he got kicked off the set of, he got kicked out of the VO booth and off of Mafia 2, the video game, because they told him to go off and he said such horrible thing. No, it was 2 also. But they cut his part so much because they told him to go off, and he offended people so bad they had to have a psychologist come in. So it's fucking, which is very Joey Diaz story, and I'm not excusing that behavior because it's not good behavior. But let's see. Oh God, where is it? I got it right here. Oh, this is bad. Oh, here we go. PSA, I'm listening to Rogan's Fight Companion for our show, and he's now fully transitioned from "it's the flu" to, and this is a direct quote, "it's definitely," well, I don't want to say it's definitely because I'm not a scientist, but it's a man-made disease. That was a quote from that Fight Companion. So, yeah. If you guys want to know my skip for this week, I feel like I don't have to tell you. But, Jesus Christ. It's, yeah, so if you... all that is a great segue for, if you don't want complete shit takes and zero talk about MMA, I highly recommend that you go and listen to the Fight Site's alternative commentary for UFC 251, which was Danny, Saram, and Ed Gallo, I believe, were the 3 that were on. And it's just fantastic. Really in-depth talk about game plans, what they expect from fighters, and then seeing the actual fights take place. They did the main card, except they skipped the PVZ fight, understandably, because everybody knew how that shit was going to go. Yeah. And yeah, it's really interesting. They talk. It was cool hearing them talk a lot about, like, man, Rose has this tendency to just kind of gallop backwards and not cut angles, and then you see that fight start, and they're like, oh shit, she's immediately cutting angles. And so it's really cool to hear that. It was cool hearing them talk about the Aldo fight, and them go from, like, being so happy about it and being like, you know what, this is I feel so much better than I thought I was going to about this Aldo fight, to then getting to the 5th round where it's like, now you feel like the world is ending because the Aldo fight, because of how fucking depressing that stoppage was. Where I believe, as Jesus. Ben Folks said, he was just yelling Leon at a certain point at the TV. And yeah, it's just a really, really good alternative commentary, so I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Also, by the way, speaking of man-made diseases, right?
Jesus, that was a hell of a segue.
I know, I'm just kidding. Just look at what I just sent you. This is courtesy of Michael Bisping today. I thought this was pretty great.
Yep. Also, shouts to Michael Bisping for putting out just images of people pissing on people.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
For those who say they can't see the visual, it's a matter of, it's a terrible analogy as far as how it's illustrated, but it's just basically saying wear a mask.
Yeah. The point is, go look at Bisping on Instagram if you want to see it. But
yeah.
Yeah, well, also, that's the same motherfucker who took a picture with Matt Serra and Dana White in a enclosed space with no mask on, doing fucking doing skydiving.
He did the looking for a fight, right?
Yeah.
He filled in for. Didn't he fill in for Dean, who actually tested positive?
Yep, Dean Thomas, who tested positive, and Dean actually was on.
But then again, Dean's in fucking Florida, so it's kind of tough to really stay safe.
Dean's in Vegas because he's still quarantined from the fights. Because he flew to Vegas to fly to Abu Dhabi, and they're like, yeah, you're positive, so you gotta stay in Vegas, dog. So he's been in the same hotel eating. Ordered.
I guess I should say he probably got it in Florida.
Well, right, yeah, and he's in Vegas eating, like, basically tubs of PB&J, fucking, because he can't leave his hotel room, so he's just, like, hanging out eating PB&Js and fucking tweeting. He was on the A-Side live chat this week, actually, talking about it. It was pretty good.
Okay, but yeah, I mean that can't be fun if you're just
No. Well, testing positive for the Rona can't be fun either. I mean, unless your name is Brennan Schaub and you want to go biking.
I think I meant that it encompassed all of the above right there. You're in a fucking hotel eating garbage and you have coronavirus.
Well,
so unless you're Brennan Schaub and you just said, let me go on a bike ride out in public when other people can get sick from me. Right. So
see, as Shorty Torres joked in that episode of the A-Side, though, I believe, it's basically normal life for Dean, though, because that's mostly what Dean does anyway. So
same thing. All right. So anyways, special guest, former welterweight champion of the world, Tyron Woodley.
That's right.
They had a really, I think, very transparent and great, just enlightening and open discussion about the black experience in America, the United States specifically, for all you people who hate Americans saying America when describing the United States.
I mean, that is like the weakest argument. Like, no Canadians yelling that at anybody.
Yeah, because Canadians know, but they don't care.
Well, that too.
Yeah. And then they apologize for no reason.
Yeah. With a hard O.
Yeah. Uncle Hinach, he's like, I appreciate black women because without black women, there's no chocolate sundae. And he's like, for all you Laranjinos who follow me, you know all about chocolate sundae. And yes, thank you, Uncle Hinach. I always appreciate chocolate sundaes, which reminds me he probably has a post today. Anyways,
I always forget about that. That's a gimmick that he's been doing forever. That's.
So, and on a serious note, they both discuss.
Also, before you get into it, we should note that it was recorded about a month ago. He says at the top, it was like just after the Burns fight. So like Woodley is literally still limping around after the leg kicks from Burns. So I think it was like right towards the beginning of June.
So they said lots of folk who aren't directly affected by racism have been coming out in droves to support justice for black lives and to help deter and police brutality, specifically white people. I mean, and not just white people, they talk about Latinos as well, non-blacks, I guess you would call it, or people, I mean, non-people of African descent. But then again, that's technically not accurate because not all blacks are of African descent. So I'm not going to go there.
Eventually, we're going to have to start hearing Mike Perry start yelling from off screen. So.
Oh boy. That fucking idiot.
It's a bad person.
That guy actually needs to get serious help, though. We can't have another. Never mind. I won't
also,
even name that piece of shit.
Pro tip: he's always needed professional help. If we all have ever listened to him talk in public.
Do you recall the very first interview he had with Ariel Helwani? And this was clearly before Ariel went full shill with ESPN.
Is that the one we were talking about breaking into cars and shit and how he got arrested?
It was before that. It was the first one. He basically talked. He said, "So, Mike, what's like your main kind of maid savior mentality?" He's like, I'm big into God, and I think my communication with God is key. And he's like, I think in order to really communicate with God, you need satellites made from like titanium. I don't know. I was like, dude, this dude is on some sort of another level now.
I thought he was just a big ICP fan, to be honest. But ICP hates racism, unlike Mike Perry.
Yeah, and I've never seen Mike Perry drink at a Faygo, so.
To be fair, he will crush some berry mojitos, though.
Okay.
Because allegedly that's what he was drinking at the place. By the way, I would like to officially condone Mike Perry's transition from, in his post-fight speech, saying, I'm going to go drink some Mai Tais on the beach, to then drinking berry mojitos in a fucking restaurant in Texas. These are two very different things, and I feel like if you did one versus the other, your life would have ended up a little different that night. So maybe next time Mai Tais on the beach, my guy. Better drink, better location.
Dude, I know Florida's already a COVID hotspot, but why would you go to another one?
I mean...
Never mind.
Tell that shouts to every comedian I guess a couple weeks ago, because now they're all scared now that Rogan's scared. So
yeah, that whole
anyway
thing.
We should get back to actually what we're talking about since we're all over.
Let's not get sidetracked.
The Valley Chudoawa.
Yeah, so Hanato and Tyron both talk about. It's Tyron who says Black Lives Matter is a movement of equality, not of power or black supremacy. Don't get it twisted. He discusses, he says, from his experience and perspective, black culture has been stolen for years due to systemic oppression, racism. I 100% agree. I mean just look at a lot of rock and roll.
Yeah, pick any piece of art, and yeah. Basically,
Yeah.
that's how that works.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, and I like a lot of their music. Pink Floyd, great band, but I believe
Zeppelin is the most notorious.
yeah, Zeppelin's most. But I think
Elvis
Pink
is
Floyd,
maybe the other
the
one.
two names Pink and Floyd were. God damn it! It was named after two like famous black blues players, and they're like, "Oh, we like this guy, so that's our band name," which is fine because I think they were kind of more progressive style anyway.
Well,
as
and they
far as
also
Pink
like
Floyd. They're
yeah.
more like kind of psychedelic kind of.
They also did less like just straight jacking riffs than like Zeppelin, for example, who like 1-to-1 stole riffs from old blues people.
And I'd
Like,
probably say the
fucking
biggest.
half their songs.
I'd say probably the biggest perpetrator of just stealing that culture.
I mean,
Probably
Elvis.
Presley.
Elvis
yeah.
is 100, and he's the most racist. Which I forget who has the amazing bit. I think it might be Hannibal. It was either Hannibal Buress or Dave Chappelle had the bit that it's now Elvis's house is all entirely like the museum is all completely run by black people, and how it must drive Elvis nuts.
That's awesome.
I want to say it was Hannibal Buress and his Miami Nights special they just put out, but I might be mixing it up because I've been watching a lot of comedy lately. But yeah, great fucking bit though. It's not Doug Stanhope. It was somebody that put out a special recently. Anyway, off topic again.
Tyron also talks about his upbringing in Ferguson, which is, I guess,
interesting.
would you call it a community or a suburb of St. Louis?
I don't know enough about it to necessarily make that.
It's a community in St. Louis.
Well, and he talks about like just in general of St. Louis, like the entire south and east side of St. Louis is like two giant areas of death rates and murder rates, which is crazy to hear. I think that was actually after he talked about. You heard the part where he talked about hanging out with Sage?
Yeah, and
He's
basically
like,
he kind of took him on a cultural field trip.
I think he said like, oh yeah, we going on a field trip today because he took him to Roscoe's and then to see Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation.
Yeah, and he's
and
like,
then to hang
Mr.
out with
Woodley,
Laurentino.
I'm really mad.
Yeah. He said Sage was literally angry because he didn't know that much about racism and that it still existed and shit, which is like the most adorable Sage shit of all time. Like, not even Paige Van Zandt can pull off that kind of fucking, like, bright-eyed, like, starry-eyed fucking youngness.
I feel like Paige would just be like, well, I learned that
Paige
God
lives in
loves
Portland.
everyone.
She's well aware of racism.
Yeah, God loves everyone, though.
Yeah, Jesus, let's not. Let's just move on.
Yeah, we'll stay away from religion. All right.
Probably good. Well, much like children should.
Yes, please.
Or maybe religion should stay away from children, if you know what I'm saying.
That's the real answer.
yeah. It's not like the children are grabbing the religion's dick all the time. I apologize. That was unnecessary.
You're just like, all right, cut.
Yeah.
Ironically,
never mind. I was going to make a great circumcision joke, but we can move on.
let's circumvent the other way.
Hey!
Tyron's upbringing in Ferguson, he said, did not incubate his future success, which I think is a powerful statement. He says he's an outlier, and that's great. He discusses his success at the University of Missouri through both academically and through the wrestling program.
It was cool hearing him give credit to his mother, and like he also credited just his own mental toughness for getting out. He's like, honestly, I just like a lot of people who have been through really hard times, there's just a moment in their life where they're like, I can't fucking keep doing this cycle, and they just choose to do something different. And that's like, you hear that from a lot of people who change cycles in their life, right? Like whether it be alcoholics or whether it be anybody that's not happy with the place they're at. You hear like a lot of them credit it to like one moment where they just made a decision to do things different. So it was cool hearing that. And I always feel like I like hearing people give themselves credit for that shit, because a lot of times it's like they do credit like nebulous shit like, oh, the world or God or whatever.
I won't knock that. Like if that works for someone, that's great.
But like also, motherfucker, you deserve some credit. You made a hard decision and stuck to it. That's dope.
Yeah, if that other factor, if that other thing that helped you was like an extension of something or a helping hand, that's great. But you just still credit yourself for being able to kind of get yourself through that.
Well, and I feel like Yeah, and I feel like
situation you're in, whether it's mentally or physical or environmental.
And I feel like actually crediting yourself with that change helps empower other people to just help think that, hey, maybe making that change for myself is just something that'll fucking improve my shit. Which, like, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Who knows? Shit is crazy, but I always appreciate people just being like, yeah, I don't know, I decided to do something different and things changed for me, so that was cool. And I feel like that's kind of an overall, like, thought about a lot of, and talking point on a lot of this episode is just Tyron, in general, being like, I'm just trying to do something because I'm not happy with the way things are. So like he talks about trying to start a coalition with a bunch of people and stuff like that, and just trying to speak more openly and kind of set up like, hey, we are all in agreement that things are fucked up. What's step one? You know?
Yeah, and I think what was important that he stated is he said a lot of Black Americans have had their history erased in the sense that most African Americans don't really know which country they came from, at least ethnically. Whether I know they mentioned like Namibia, right, or just say Cameroon, Nigeria. I remember I think Tyron a couple months back tweeted out his ancestry results, his DNA results, and I think he said he was like
2% Black.
I think he's like 80%.
Oh, wait, no, that was Mike Perry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Of course, we get them mixed up. Clearly.
I mean, they're.
I think Tyron said, on a serious note, Tyron said he's like 80% Nigerian. He said he thought that was awesome because he feels he can connect more to, not just other Nigerian athletes, but just someplace he can almost call home for his ancestry.
Well, it's like the difference between saying you're from the U.S. or you're from like California or Jersey or something like that. Like, I mean, in a much more micro scale, but like.
Yeah, because I know.
Or it's like the difference saying you're from North America versus which fucking country in North America. Like, there's a big difference in that.
I know Hanato said, he's like, that's a good point because there's also some whites, or what do you call them, Europeans, right? European.
I believe the term is technically güeros.
Yeah, güeros. There's a lot of whites in the United States, white Americans who, whether their ancestry is Irish, German, or Italian, they celebrate their culture. And he's like, yeah, that's great too. Everyone should be able to kind of celebrate their ethnicity or their heritage, but it's important also for blacks to be able to identify that as well. Well, I think that's very true.
The other crazy fact he brought up, which like is something that I know just because I've gone to like, my parents are really big into history stuff, so I like whenever we traveled ever as a kid, I would always end up at museums. So like I know this shit, but like a lot of people don't realize like, you know why black people have white people last names?
Yeah,
and that's who owned them.
Yeah,
and so like it's crazy that like it's weird to me that a lot of white people don't know that, but like, yeah, I'm sure that's news to a lot of people, which is kind of crazy. Like, there's a reason why Woodley's last name is Woodley, even though he's from Africa, or his family's history is from Africa.
Probably, arguably the most famous black athlete of all time, or up there, Muhammad Ali. What was his name that he was born with? He called it his slave name.
Yep.
So
it was just a lot of really interesting and like heartfelt conversations, and I feel like the reason why this is a really good catch is because why the fuck is it the show hosted by a dude doing a character that is the one having these hard conversations? Like, how has nobody fucking had Tyron Woodley on to talk about this before goddamn Uncle Hinach did?
And I know Hanato, as in his character, is Brazilian, or as he calls himself, what is it, a cinnamon glow?
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah. Because I know, and I'm not going to say his name, I think we've mentioned it before, but Hanato in reality is, I believe he said he's half black, half white. He's biracial.
Well, he's
yes.
Yeah.
He's biracial.
If you look into it, he's I don't want to. I'm not into ruining bits. I'm not. No, I'm
not
can do the
name.
math. You could do the math if you really want to.
But either way, if there's any reason for Hanato to have also a good take on this, is because he's also black.
Well, and also in the last year, or was it this? Jesus, that was this. Was it this year when he did the Black History Month thing? Was that this year?
Yeah.
With Anthony Smith? Oh my god, that feels like 2 years ago.
I know, dude.
Holy shit, February was so long ago. And that was actually, he put it out in March, so that was so long ago. The Anthony Smith and the episode he did with Anthony Smith, and what was the other one?
Eric Anders.
Eric Anders, yes.
Yeah.
those were fantastic as well. And he's like talks about he's one of the few dudes who was like, oh, I would talk to Karen Bryant and people, and they'd be like, what, Anthony's mixed? He's like, oh, yes, of course Anthony's mixed. Y'all don't know this? And so, yeah, it just blows my mind that, like, that is exactly why Hinata's show is a benefit to everyone. Because, like, yo,
fantastic.
How the fuck is a dude, we will say 100% not... I'm trying not to ruin gimmicks, and so it's hard to talk about him legitimately. But like, yo, let's just say a dude who is not directly involved. He has another gig that is not any of this shit, and he is also a dude who could risk a lot of gigs by talking the way he does. And all y'all are, a lot of podcasts are still just not reaching out to a lot of black athletes who have been very open about being willing to talk about some of this shit, and just no one's doing it, and it blows my mind.
Yeah, I know another athlete who recently, he's arguably one of the biggest American athletes now, is the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Congrats to him getting that $450 million contract for 10 years. Don't know how Kansas City is going to pay him that annually with that salary cap issue, but either way, he's an athlete who is biracial. He's half black, half white. And some ignorant NFL fans, which isn't surprising if they're NFL fans, right? Yeah. I've seen so many comments like, wait, he's black? It's like, how the fuck do you not even just notice that? But
yeah, I mean, it's definitely.
It's like, do you even know his dad was a fucking professional? He was a pitcher for the New York Mets. Like, come on.
No one does their research about anything, Chris, and everyone barely glances at headlines, and that's how news works. You know this.
Yeah, it's like, oh boy.
Anyway, we'll keep on moving on. Also, shouts out to Philippe, who just showed up in chat of the fight site. He actually, one thing I wish I got to this week, which I did not, and it might come up next week. I still need to get to his interview that he just did with Renato Moicano, which I've heard great things about. So, shouts out to that. And if you guys are looking for a podcast that I have not listened to yet, but I've heard great things about, check out the Fight Site's interview with Renato Moicano. And I hope that was Renato Moicano, and I'm not just saying that off the side of my mouth and then now realizing it's not the actual person I'm thinking of. I know it was Philippe did an interview. It was Moicano, right? I'm pretty sure. Now I'm gonna fucking obsess about this.
I mean, if you already said it pretty confidently, you're probably
yeah. No, it's 100% Renato Moicano. Yeah. I did that thing where I have a straight panic attack that I mixed up Brazilians, which, to be fair, there's been a lot of Brazilians fighting. But why don't we go ahead and talk about... I have a feeling your other catch is probably my other catch this week, Chris.
So, can I just say one more thing that Tyron talked about?
Oh, sure, sorry.
Well, it's not really funny, but it's just interesting. He said there was a moment in the UFC, he can't remember what fight it was, but he said the UFC tried to sit Colby Covington near himself, Tyron, Jorge Masvidal, and Kamaru Usman. He said Colby Covington had a person next to him that they all initially thought was like his bodyguard, which they thought that's a weak ass move, you know.
You're you're right. This
and
was cool
apparently it was some professional rugby player or some shit. Anyways, they said the rugby guy kept mean mugging Tyron, and Tyron was like kind of hovering over looking at him. However, Tyron didn't realize initially when he was hovering, he was sitting next to Tony Ferguson's wife. And Tony didn't like Tyron kind of going like this.
He understandably, his wife was probably freaked out.
Yeah,
and Tony was like, dude, you're freaking out.
Stood up and was like, dude, can you please back the fuck up or I'm going to have an issue with you. You're standing too close to my wife. And initially Tyron's like, dude, I apologize. You know, no disrespect meant. You know,
well,
sorry
just
about
to
that.
real-ass men being real-ass men.
Yeah.
Which is a cool story. And also, how big of it is it of Tyron to, like, bring that up out of nowhere when talking about Tony? He's like, yo, I like Tony. Like, here's an interaction I had where I fucked up, and I like the way Tony addressed it with me, and we were cool. Which is like, not a lot of MMA fighters willing to tell stories about how they were an asshole. Like, you know what I mean? Very rarely do you hear those stories.
Yeah, no, and big ups to for Tyron. That was, and I'm sure, that was so much probably awkward tension for like Colby and shit and all those idiots.
For sure. Also, shouts to Philippe in chat who brings up also my favorite Tony Ferguson joke, which is that he's just gonna ankle pick everybody after that Verdum exchange.
Yeah, or what's it? Excuse me, I'm talking, brother. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Oh my god. Ow. How do we get a Tony Ferguson Verdum combat jiu-jitsu match booked? Because that seems like 100% a lot of fun. And also just a bunch of, as I believe the co-main event would say, a bunch of Weirdsmobiles just doing their thing, you know? Anyway, why don't we get into our other can't miss for this week, which I'm guessing is the same for you as well, which is the Bash from July 16th, 2020. Man, we have always been big Eurobash fans on this show. I think that's always we've talked about it. They were in our lists of we talked about them in contention for top 10 of last year. Always putting out great content, really good interviews. Really like towards the end of that Eurobash run, the amount of interviews they were cranking out in an episode was insane. And then now they've transitioned. Now that PT is no longer with MMA Fighting, they transitioned over to the Bash. And man, I am loving their content even more now that they're no longer associated with MMA Fighting. Maybe that's a coincidence, maybe it's not, but either way, holy shit, what a strong episode from them, huh?
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. It was great having Kareem Zidane on.
I mean, can we, first off, Journalist of the Year is between two people. That's not fair, because there's great people like Michael Fidel, or whose name I always feel like I say wrong.
I think it's Fidel.
Patrick Auger, both those dudes over at Body Lock, all the dudes over at I mean, there's a billion good journalists, but if I was to come up with it, for me, it comes down to two people, and it's Kareem Zidane and John Nash, with like Paul Gift and Jason Cruz as like kind of I want them to be tagged on to the John Nash one just because of Show Money alone, which I believe Show Money records an episode tonight if anybody is looking for content to listen to later. If you look at the Show Money, I believe it's under the... If they record tonight, it's probably going to be up later. But anyway, Show Money's great, and they have a new episode coming out. But Kareem Zidane and John Nash are by far the two journalists that I feel like I have learned the most from about the way the industry works, and that have done the hardest journalism I have seen, at least recently in the sport. And I feel like a lot of this stuff that Kareem talks about in this episode is exactly the stuff that I couldn't possibly know unless there were people like him out there saying this stuff, right?
I agree. And I liked his take. Not even the take. I liked how he presented the ongoing issue of the UFC swallowing its morality, as he kind of put it, as in how they deal with countries like the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, at least in the past, and I don't know, maybe probably still present. He explains the current sweetheart deal the UFC has at Abu Dhabi and Fight Island and why the deal happened. I know you probably wrote more intricate notes about this, or in more detail.
I've got crazy notes.
So I'll let you take it away. But my biggest takeaway from it is good on Kareem Zidane for being an actual journalist and objectively kind of presenting facts and news about and it's public information, the UFC's dealings with these countries, so it's
and they
not
make
like
it very clear, because
he's not breaking some sort of NDA that he had to sign or any bullshit. Not that any journalist should do that, right? Unless it has to do with some sort of court issue. Like if you're a journalist that writes in the courts, okay,
you legally have to make an agreement to view a document.
Even then, you still have to bring it up with your editor-in-chief or whoever the fuck your boss is at your publication.
And arguably, your publication should not throw you under the bus and let you sign or tell you to sign fucking documents that literally compromise your journalistic integrity. It makes you a bad outlet, arguably, if you make
Shout out
your
to
do that.
A certain person who I won't give the spotlight on Twitter. That was fun. Just kidding.
Oh, dude. Oh, my God. You mean the one I went in on this week?
Yeah, it was good that we stopped, because I was kind of viewing that from afar. And while she wasn't...
I know. It's me being combative as shit.
She wasn't wrong what she did, but she definitely...
It's a history
still
of those
doesn't
actions.
have have a good look as far as what you were telling me. What that oh god damn it! I already said the pronoun of the person. Fuck. That person.
Who knows what they actually address? Never mind. I'm not even gonna make my point. Yeah, we'll move on from that because that person we have talked about on this show. How it's weird that a journalist would have a show with a.
Oh, and newsflash! I understand journalism 100% as far as representing sound of violence. So go ahead and keep throwing more stuff at us.
Right. I love that she's like, oh, you don't know journalism. I was like, I know it enough to know that you're fucking doing things that are against the goddamn ethics guidelines. But whatever, bro. Keep wearing one championship sweaters and giving them to your kids and let me know how that fucking turns out for you. Definitely never been flown to Asia to go cover an event. Whatever. She's also blocked anyone who's of any kind of relevance.
Oh, I already guarantee we've already been blocked at this point.
Oh, no, we haven't been blocked. We were muted, which is hilarious.
Doesn't matter.
But I also got a bunch of messages from a bunch of different, let's say, more reputable journalists who were like, you're not the only one, bro.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I thought it was great seeing that.
Yeah. It's good shit. Anyway, watch out for...
That's all we have
watch
to
out
say.
For journalists doing PR.
Yeah.
That's all you have to say. But speaking of journalists not doing
Is that
PR,
Ali, you have to say?
Oh my god. To be fair, well, maybe don't host a fucking podcast with the terrible boyfriend / manager of a female fighter and like say her weird pro / anti UFC things, but then also be wearing questionable gear that you were clearly given, and you're also being paid to work for this fighter, but then also somehow you're writing articles about that fighter, and then also anyway, there's a lot of history between why I got angry on Twitter. Anyway, back to what we were actually talking about. Kareem Zidane brought up the term that I've heard him use, but that I haven't heard widely used, and it really should be, which is sports washing. The idea of using sports to kind of whitewash a more horrendous kind of human rights violations and that sorts of thing, which we see a lot of from, of course, guys like Kadyrov and a bunch of Middle Eastern countries. We do it in this country, obviously, because we're.
I would just call that almost just diluting. Then they're just diluting. They're devaluing human rights issues. They're almost just kind of just putting it down. They're just putting it down because they're just like, well, sports is going to come before this. We have no idea what you're talking about, and you're accusing us of these human rights issues, right? So let's just keep having sports. Yay! Having an F1 race here at our island. Let's do it, right?
Well, and it's a combination of that, and it's also just like, it's essentially how do we fix tourism in this region, and also please don't pay attention to the terrible working conditions of the people who live here, which arguably you could say about a lot of U.S. cities as well. Also,
shout out to Brazil during the World Cup. That's all I'm gonna say. And what happened to a lot of their nation's fine construction workers and workers. And shouts out to FIFA for allowing that to happen. Good on you. Because they clearly they've never had any issues.
Oh, how about the Olympic Committee that was just in Brazil recently? And tell me how those Rio games worked out for the people who lived in Rio. Not good, other than them dying or working in fucking trash conditions. But then again, we are not a country who can throw fucking stones right now. So, to be fair, we are as well.
We can throw tear gas.
Yeah. Well, and the kind of the implications behind the business dealings, rather than just the business dealings as a PR move, right? It's the difference between seeing, like, oh, hey, weird that in every press conference we're going to ask about how they feel about Abu Dhabi, versus the people being like, oh, by the way, you see the PR plans they're putting in the press conferences for Abu Dhabi, which that has two very different connotations, you know?
Yeah. I couldn't really said it better myself, and just the way. I don't know. I don't need to really say anything on that. Just I agree with pretty much everything, kind of how he put that forward, really, and just kind of how he really kind of
he brings a lot of light to
brings it to light.
And it's things that like we wouldn't know unless it's someone on the ground who knows the inner workings of those exchanges, right? Where like he even says like I don't like it's not clear and it's hard to know whether or not the actual building they're doing these fights in was built on, we'll say, unethical labor rather than slave labor, but like but like it's hard to know because there's not really like that. There's no documentation, and the people who could say whether or not it is aren't people who a lot of people have connections to because they die if you do. So like journalists have recently been quartered by fucking motherfuckers out there for talking out about some of that stuff.
American journalists too.
Yeah, and like we don't talk about it. But it's interesting. It's also very cool to hear Pete say stuff like he says he walked in on a room full of people who clearly were working like at the venue, and they were all just sleeping on the floor in a giant room because they took a wrong turn. Which is like, it's that kind of shit that like you don't hear talked about. And I feel like now that PT is also kind of on his own right now, he's kind of working independently. I feel like PT is going to be a really strong voice for journalism here, at least while he is independent. Because he's saying things and asking questions that are like directly uncomfortable and that questions that I would imagine a lot of outlets would be worried about you asking to higher profile people. Because of the possible implications or fallout that could result from it. Take that for what it's what it's worth. Not necessarily any shots fired, but I feel like everybody knows what the fuck I'm talking about. But like the fact that he's gone after Abu Dhabi Allen and Abu Dhabi Adam, as he keeps calling him, at the press conferences for just clearly being PR that was set in there to do that shit. And then he also saw a PR guy do similar things at 242 back in the day when he was there. And also that Kareem says, oh yeah, well there's definitely like weird PR control and special access given to people at the old Abu Dhabi events with Frankie Edgar and BJ Penn, Anderson Silva, Damian Maya. It's really interesting conversations that need to be talked about more than, oh bro, hashtag Fight Island dog. Like, which I feel like is what most podcasts are talking about. So that's why both of our catches are big catches or can't misses this week, is just because they're talking about shit that's uncomfortable, it's interesting, and it should be talked about more in the sport. So wanted to give them both big love for that. Let's see. Your new show is the one you said for a skip or for a catch this week, right?
Yeah, the Thick Boys Fight Club with Nick Westervelt and Ty Stewart.
That's right. Which, goddamn, that's a great name. Let's see. I had two new shows I listened to this week. The first was Octagon Outlook, which was the debut show of James Lynch's new podcast with MMA Line Movement. MMA Line Movement is the place that you guys know. I think last week we talked about Dan Tom's preview show that he's doing now with oh god, it's not it's Dan Levy from Half the Battle. And so I've been really enjoying that show, and now James Lynch has a new, I almost say Mike Lynch every fucking time because of the Adam Carolla show. But I know James Lynch is not a lawyer. James Lynch is the guy who is doing, he's now moved, like, a lot of his, it's like somewhere between an interview show and a preview show. At least this one was mostly preview focused. I know he is going to be doing some interviews on there, but he's also going to be doing some interviews on his own YouTube channel as well. So something to keep an eye on. But I mean, if you guys have ever followed any of James's work, you know that he is, first off, he's always had some of the best interviews ever. If you guys have ever seen a guy playing video games, especially like old Super Nintendo or NES games against fighters and doing an interview with them, that's James Lynch. And it's a great series. But also he's just a really good interviewer, and he's really good at previewing cards. Just overall, I've always enjoyed James's work, and I'm happy to see him find a new home over at MMA Line Movement. And man, MMA Line Movement in general. I mean, picking up Dan Tom, James Lynch, and Dan Levy that's a big trio right there out the gate. So I'm excited to see what they have coming forward.
Yeah, that's a big gain for those guys.
Yeah, especially
those three
as like
general.
a new outlet too. Like and for them to immediately be doing shows, like, dude, James Lynch is arguably one of the go-to and one of the best just straight like fight week interviewers around. Like everyone I know references James as interviews just in general, because they're generally the ones where he's not asking how's your weight cut going, you know, he's asking actual ask questions. So big shout to that. And the other one this week is actually a show that I heard about on the Punch Drunk Sports podcast. I think it was 398. Here I can scroll down and let you know for sure. Yep, Punch Drunk Sports 398. You guys, if you've ever listened to Punch Drunk Sports, which man, not really an MMA podcast. It's Tebow, Jason Teeb, Ari Shafir, and Sam Tripoli. Sometimes, depending on what the fuck their week is looking like. I mean, Sam has kids now, so he's like holding babies and checking out 20 minutes in. Fight Annie, I don't even know where she's been. Arguably hanging out with Danish and or O'Neal, I guess. I forget which one she's married to, but the reason why this was cool is Gabe has been on a bunch of times. Gabe is Gabe the Banker, aka Gabe Killian. He's been around a bunch. You guys know him. Teeb has a terrible impression of him that is not flattering. But he's always been a cool dude. He is. You've definitely seen him around on Twitter, if you at all, or on betting Twitter. He is an opinionated dude, real funny. He also has some dope chicken stuff. He has like a pop-up chicken shop, I think, for hot chicken out in LA. I guess I should clarify. LA comedian, like at the store and everything. Good friends with all those guys at Punch Drunk. But Gabe just recently put out an episode. So he's been doing the Money Right Fight Club for a while, which is his, like, essentially it's an email betting thing where he sends you all his picks and plays and stuff. I think it's expensive. It's like $350 a month or something. But he has like,
wait, like,
yeah,
$3?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
No, like $350 a month.
That's what I thought. Okay, when you say expensive,
or
like,
maybe I might be misquoting that because it changes, and also I think with that he actually hooks you up with like it might be $350 for like a certain number of cards or something like that. I think is actually how it works. I think it's like $350 for like 4 or 6 cards, something like that. Don't quote me. Listen to the Money Right Fight Club episode 2 if you want to know about it. But essentially he's doing a preview show now where he's talking a little bit about just his thoughts on cards. And like his thoughts on not only betting lines but just matchups in general. And why this was cool especially is because for this one he had the Shabazian brothers on. Because if you guys don't know, Gabe is Armenian as fuck and he lives in Glendale, and so obviously he knows the Shabazian brothers.
Yeah,
that's like, I'm just saying it how it is. Shouts out to Jason Tebow's terrible impression. But I've always liked Gabe. I think he's an interesting dude. Me and him a lot of times honestly disagree on the way we see matchups going, but I always find him interesting and I always like seeing his takes on fights. Definitely interesting and worth checking out. If you're not into betting, I don't know that it's necessarily going to be a show for you because it's 100% just a super betting heavy preview, especially this episode where he essentially would ask the Shabazian brothers what their thoughts was on a fight, and then he would cut to him separately, then going like more into detail on how he thinks the matchup is going to go and kind of betting odds and all that stuff, and the different lines that are out at the time. But yeah, overall, I like betting shows in general. I genuinely like they're always kind of been my go-tos for previews outside of guys like the Fight Site guys or Vivisection or Dan Tom, that kind of stuff. So yeah, overall just really good and I really liked it. So it's definitely, Gabe is one of those dudes though that I will say right now that like, you're either going to like Gabe or not like Gabe. He is one of those guys. So I totally get it if people don't, but I like his dry and like wry sense of humor, and I don't know, I enjoy it. Let's see. So do you have any honorable mentions you want to shout out before we move on?
Yeah, one of them goes to one of Tom Segura's podcasts that I haven't checked out before. It's this one where he just does it.
The one in Spanish?
Yeah, the one with Joey Diaz I liked a lot. I only listened to maybe like 20 minutes of it. Yeah, I know it's just called Tom Segura in Espanol.
Is that all it's called?
I believe that's the name of the podcast.
Yeah, you're right. Tom Segura in Espanol. The one with Joey Diaz was... I'll get you an episode number here in a second. It is episode 12. Con Joey Diaz.
That was good.
Oh, you know what? Also, I should shout out. I have not gotten a chance to listen to it yet, but Jose Young's now had not Jose Young's. I apologize. Fucking the arose to his fucking to his pawn or whatever the fuck. Luke Thomas always says. Danny Segura. Danny Segura just started a new podcast that's Spanish based.
Doesn't he say the rice to his beans?
Yeah. The arose to his frijoles. That's right.
Yeah.
Fucking, I couldn't remember what it was. I almost went with con pollo, but I'm like, it's not the rice to with chicken. I know it's not that. Fucking, yeah, no, but I haven't listened to it yet. And also my Spanish is so rusty that, like, that's why I just retweet it and say ahora, fucking escucha ahora, because that's all. It's about I can conjugate a verb and add a word onto it. But
I'm at my Spanish where I could still pretty much understand most of what's being said, but if you ask me to say something really quick on a fire conjugate, dude, I'm like, huh?
I have to, I have to like slow it down, like to where I'll have to pause and go back and listen to stuff, because I'll catch like 3 out of 5 words. But, like, half of those are just basically setups for the actual conjugation. I'm like, okay, well, that's a weird conjugation that I'm not familiar with. Then I'm like, oh, yeah, I know the dumb fucking Spanish version and not the actual Mexican version of Spanish also, which is part of the problem. Because, like, half of this shit is just combinations of words. Yeah. Spanish is hard, y'all.
I don't know.
Let's see. Do you have any other honorable mentions you wanted to shout out there?
Yeah, so video game stuff. I'm almost done with The Last of Us 2, and I mentioned that like a week or two, maybe a month back now that I've been playing it. Also, honorable mention to the new game that came out. If you're a PlayStation person, Ghost of Tsushima. Saw my brother was playing it the other day. It looks pretty fucking rad, especially if you're a fan of any sort of samurai or I don't know if you can call it ancient Japanese culture. Is 1274 ancient nowadays? I don't think ancient.
I mean, old enough.
It's about the Mongolian
It's about
invasion,
dead people. How about that?
Japan, of the islands of Tsushima. And, essentially, also, if you're a movie person, cinephile, whatever you call it, if you are aware of, Akira Kurosawa, legendary director of Seven Samurai.
Yeah, if you into any kind of samurai shit, this is the game you want to play.
Yeah. And they have a filter called Kurosawa mode where you can play the game in black and white.
Oh,
and
no
it has,
way.
Like, a score. Yeah, it has a score like akin to like his films.
No way they did a different score for it, too?
I think. I'm probably wrong.
He might be doing the whole score, actually, now that I think about it.
But I know
that's cool
you can play it in black and white, though. I know that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool as hell. Yeah, man. That also, shouts out if you guys have been playing Last of Us 2 and you want a really cool in-depth... If you finished it and you want a really cool in-depth discussion on kind of the ideas behind it and the plot and kind of overall thoughts, the Giant Bombcast, I sent this to Chris since I know he hasn't finished it yet, but he'll probably enjoy it once he does, is the Giant Bombcast does a spoiler cast for games where they basically, after a bunch of people finish it, they all get together and just kind of talk about how their feelings on it. Their Red Dead one was one of my favorite ones they've ever done. And they just put one out for Last of Us Part 2 as well. So if you want to check that out, yeah, pretty cool. Let's see. So I do have some honorable mentions that are MMA related. I'll crank through those. The Level Change podcast, episode 80, was really good. You guys will actually hear a clip from it on the break, which is a really, man, the combination of Eddie. God damn it. Why do I always mix up Vic and Eddie's names? I know who I'm talking about because I can see him in my head. I can hear Vic's kid yelling in the background as I talk about him, but I still say Eddie out loud. Now I'm no, it's definitely Vic's kid. Vic's kid's the one named Bug. Okay. Anyway, now I'm tripling down on mixing up names, but Level Change episode 80, you guys will hear a clip from. Man, the combination of Steffi and Vic and Mookie is just, they're hilarious together. And so that was a really fun episode. TSN MMA show episode 152 was awesome. Joe Valtellini is in Abu Dhabi right now for the fights because he just cornered his guy who fought. I forget who it was. It was Malcolm Gordon who just fought on the card. And so Aaron Bronstetter talks with him kind of about what it's like being there and Hearing fucking Ferraris flying down in the background and stuff. It's pretty weird. It's a weird episode, but a good one. Come On Now, episode 95 was really good. It's Trent Ryan Smith talking in depth about Ali's discussion about him banning ESPN and calling for a corruption investigation, which is just a fucking kiss the fingers, most fucking not only MMA but like dumb MMA manager move. Like, how fucking inept do you have to be? Oh my god, it's just beautiful. Oh my god, only in MMA are people that dumb and loud. Generally, you can only be one of those things and be around for a while. The Co-Main Event podcast, their live chat for July 15th was really good. They also talked a lot about Ali intentionally not getting fighters interviews. Like Ben talks about one time trying to reach out to Sajara Eubanks for an interview and just like being denied. And when he asked the secretary, like, why am I being denied? She's like, I don't know, it's just kind of what they do. It's like, what the fuck? Literally trying to do PR for your not PR, but I'm literally trying to just get attention to your goddamn fighter. You're like, nah, bro, we're good. We don't like you. It's like, all right. Which, he is not the only person. I've actually had some DM back and forth with some journalists as well who've told me that this week that Ali is literally just, like, either blown them off or, like, been like, nah, we're good when trying to get interviews for fighters with outlets that could absolutely use that kind of coverage. So, fucking, it's insulting, and fighters should be ashamed that they allow someone like that to talk for them. Co-Main Event episode 410 was really good. Also, I should shout out the Co-Main Event podcast did a live stream for UFC 251 that was really good last week. It was a lot of fun. So if you guys want, there's actually a lot of alternate commentaries for last week. I think Bill Welker and MMA on the Rocks did one. I know Co-Main Event did one on their Patreon. I know the Fight Site did one on their Patreon. And then, if you want to listen to Joey Diaz and Tony Hinchcliffe talk about Ioana and Jacek during a card that she's not on, then you can do that, I guess. But I don't know.
That checks out.
And also listen to Rogan say fucking arguably troubling. It's just like he's just such a fucking anti-vaxxer at this point. It's getting insulting. Heavy Hands episode 325 was really good. A lot of talk about 251 and then a preview of Benavidez versus Fig, and that Max is definitely a liar. Also, man, you know what? I'm going to move this up to a catch. I should have brought this up earlier. The Heavy Hands bonus Patreon episode, I believe it's technically titled, here, let me get the actual name. It is Rebush vs. McKenzie 2 is the name of the episode. It is the round 2 of them going at it over Andrade versus Rose, which if you guys know, I believe the previous one, if I look up Heavy Hands Patreon, you know what? It wasn't even a Patreon episode, was it? It was just a regular episode. No, it was Patreon. Because let me get the actual name of it because it cracked me up the first time. So if you guys remember last week, they did a Patreon episode that was about Andrade versus Rose and how they vehemently disagree with each other about the way that matchup was going to work. It was called Farmer versus Equipment, which checks out. Because obviously Andrade is a fucking tractor and Rose is a farmer. And then now they have Rebush versus McKenzie 2, Namajunas versus Andrade 2, the rematch, and which they completely disagree with how the fight went and think they were both right, but also simultaneously angry that the other person thinks they were right. It's just really funny, and also they both make really good points, to be fair, also. It's so goofy as hell.
On that note, did we both agree on who won? Who we thought won that fight?
Oh no, they're not disagreeing on who won. They're disagreeing on whether or not Andrade looked better or Rose looked better versus their last performances.
Oh, I see.
And like that makes sense. And so like it's basically they're arguing whether or not their kind of breakdown of how they thought it was going to go was correct or not. And they both think they were correct, but they both disagree with the other person was not.
I'll just say Andrade definitely looked better on the feed, and she just her pace and output
She did,
was
but
way
she
better
also
in the first
didn't.
fight.
Like, she also just moved her head a lot, and
Yeah, that's
got
true. And she was
almost
just kind of
nothing out
just
of it.
telegraphing that same shitty movement that wasn't real movement.
Well, no, she does that classic MMA head movement where you do head movement until
Yeah.
you get into a striking exchange and then stop moving your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird fight. Also, Rose looked good, but also Rose was getting fucked up by the end of that fight. And
I mean, yeah, I just
of
scored it. It was like she won the first 2 rounds. All right, she won the fight.
yeah. Well, and a lot of it was, but whether or not they thought Rose would have won that fight if it was a 5-rounder.
Well, that's not a bad point.
Which, like, but also you get into like those nebulous arguments about like, well, I mean, technically, if it was a 5-rounder, she wouldn't have fought the same way she did. So,
Yeah.
but then also when she was in a 5-rounder, she got fucking spiked on her head. To be fair, Rose did almost spike herself on her head trying to throw a flying knee during that fight.
Yeah,
It's wild. Anyway, some more MMA vivisections. I said co-main event episodes for Kingdom were good, right? Let's see. MMA vivisection for UFC Cater versus Ige. Zane, I can't remember if it was Zane Simon or Conor Rebush who had the incredible analogy of this being a real windbreaker of a card, but like the kind of windbreakers you get with a sports car, where you're like, okay, I guess we get that too, which I thought was really good. It's a weird analogy, but a fun one. Protecting Neck episode 207, Dan Tom's breakdown was really good. Wrestling for MMA episode 14. This arguably could have been a catch for me as well. Ed Gallo did a really cool breakdown of Nogaro versus Krokop. And just, there's a video version on Patreon, which I recommend watching, where he literally pulls up the video and you can watch it along with him of kind of setting up the wrestling exchanges in that fight and how kind of rating not only how well Krokop did in round 1, but kind of how that game plan did not continue working for him. So, just a really good episode overall. I highly recommend it. 6th round retro for UFC 251. Eddie Mercado and Zane Simon. Really good recap for 251. Enjoyed it quite a bit. And Fan Fight, episode 22. Fan Fight's the podcast hosted on I think it's Fan Bite is the name of the site. It's hosted by Danielle Rando and Hulk Tears. And they look at a pro wrestling match and an MMA fight. So it was Manami Toyota versus Akira Hokuto. Apologies, I don't pro wrestle. But it's their match in All Japan Women's Wrestling from Destiny 1995. And it was cool hearing about that. And then the fight that Danielle Rando picked, which was GSP versus Sarah 2. And it was hilarious that her co-host could not figure out the difference between GSP and Matt Serra other than the fleur-de-lis tattoo. She's like, they look identical. I can't figure them apart. Only reason I know is the fleur-de-lis tattoo. Do they sound the same? I was like, no, they don't sound the same.
George St. Pierre is clearly from Long Island.
Well, no, I don't think she ever heard Matt Serra talk. She only heard George St. Pierre talk.
Yeah.
Although
that's what I mean. You hear George St. Pierre, yeah, he's from Long Island.
100%. So, yeah, overall, just a fun episode. And then Punch Drunk 398, which I mentioned, which Gabe Killian came on and talked some fights. Overall, just a fun weekend podcast. I enjoyed it for sure. Let's see. I did have a couple well-rounded that I'll shout out here really, really quickly. First off, Izzy So Dope on YouTube has some great Bill Burr clips. He's just doing supercuts of Bill Burr talking either on podcasts or on O&A back in the day. Izzy space So Dope. SODOPE. And essentially it's just a supercut. They're like 5-10 minute supercuts where he'll take a topic that Bill Burr talked about and then intersplice it with not only like the movie, like say for Cannonball Run 2, he talked about how bad Cannonball Run 2 was. He would intersplice it with clips from Cannonball Run 2. Or he talked about GSP versus Diaz, and he would intersplice it with like clips from press conferences and shit of Dana White being like, GSP is so angry. Then it comes back to Bill Burr ranting about how fucking GSP was like afterwards was like, I am good friends with Nick Diaz. I like him a whole lot. And Bill just getting really angry. It's really good. They're really good supercuts, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I know. There's another channel that does some Billboard cuts. I'm pretty sure I've seen this channel before.
You probably have. I think I've seen it before too, but I just happened to come across it.
Because I know Bill Burr is on his official YouTube channel, kind of post some supercuts from another.
It's probably one of the guys that do like JRE clips or one of those dudes.
Let me see.
Anyway, while you're looking that up, the other one I wanted to shout out was Bartender at Large, which I think I've brought up on the show before. I don't know if he's the owner, but I think he's the part owner in Polite Provisions down here in San Diego. Really, really well-known, really nice bar. Like, it's like a great, like, classic cocktail bar. Like, piano in the corner, doing everything right, cubes and fucking old-fashions and every kind of bitters you can imagine. You've been to Polite Provisions, right?
No, I don't think I ever. I know my brother has. I don't think I ever checked it out. I've been wanting to go there.
Yeah, it's similar to a lot of the bars that our buddies have worked at, like Max or some of these guys. Like, I forget do you remember the place Max worked at?
I think he works at Prohibition.
Yeah, Prohibit. It's like a lot of those like old school whiskey bar kind of.
And Prohibition's in Little Italy, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, there's Prohibition. There's like
there's like
seven
Raised
grand.
Raised by Wolves.
Raised by Wolves. Is the speakeasy out in UTC.
And then there's Born and Raised is more like a restaurant.
Born and Raised is more like a gastropub kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of places around. We have a lot of them down here in San Diego. But Bartender at Large is the guy from Polite Provisions. I forget his name off the top of my head, but his episode Beer, Anarchy, and Punk Rock was the episode with Lee Chase of Blind Lady Ale House and Automatic Brewing, and it's just fucking great. You hear a lot about you want to hear about the history of San Diego brewing. A lot of it gets. I mean, Lee Chase worked at fucking White Labs, Pizza Port, and Stone before he started up fucking Automatic Brewing and Blind Lady. So if you want to talk about the trifecta of San Diego breweries, I mean, if you went, the only way it could be more San Diego is if you worked at Carl Strauss. So fucking, because literally White Labs, Pizza Port, and Stone are like about the three biggest names out here, aside from maybe Carl Strauss and Ballast Point back in the day when they used to actually be a brewery and not just a fucking warehouse for macro beer.
Touche.
So sad what happened about the first IPA I ever had was Big Eye. They don't even make Big Eye anymore. Fucking sad. Anyway, on that note, we are going to be back and we are going to quickly talk about the cards that happened this week. Mostly we're just going to pop in and kind of talk about some stuff that stood out. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk a little bit of Bellator that's coming up this week too, since Bellator's back. You know that?
I was going to make a joke. We probably will talk about them, but maybe not. I'm kidding. No, I actually had no idea they're back. I remember I had seen a report that they were coming back. I just didn't know when.
Friday.
If I'm honest. Okay.
Yeah. Really good fight. Sergio Pettis versus, oh, God. Who is Pettis fighting? It's a great fight. I keep wanting to say.
Like Horiguchi?
Potts,
I don't know.
No, it's not. I'm 100%. Hold on. Pettis is fighting. I know his dude's last name starts with an R.
Dude, I couldn't even tell. I couldn't even list, and I couldn't even list probably like half the current champions of Bellator.
You absolutely could, because half of them are are Douglas Lima and.
Well, I know off the top of my head.
Douglas Lima and Pitbull are like.
I know Lima Lovato, the Pitbull dude.
Okay, you named like half the champs already.
And then like
because they own like 5 divisions.
Ryan Bader, is he a champion?
I think so. I don't know. Yeah, something like that. Pettis is fighting. Oh, Ricky Bandejas.
Okay.
You would know Ricky Bandejas from the tournaments that have been happening.
Oh, and then Horiguchi, I think, is like the bantamweight champ. I think. I don't know, dude.
Yeah. Anyway, Bellator's coming back, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about that, because there's actually some good fights on that card. Also, Jake Smith of The Writer and the Fighter, who's been MIA for Jesus Christ, it feels like forever, is fighting this weekend. I haven't heard it from him since his Submission Underground fight. Or match that he lost, the second one. So it's cool to hear him back, and man, I'm excited to see him fight because he's great. So we'll be back here in a minute, talk about all that, and until then, you guys can listen to this clip, which, oh my God, it is. I'm gonna make Chris listen to this one. Actually, why don't you go ahead and pull it out, Chris, while I'm talking? But this is a clip of Mookie and Crookie and Vic talking about the insane shit that happened around the MMA, and man, does Mookie fucking slam dunk this this punchline. So we'll be right back. Enjoy it. It's a long one, but it's a good one. So cheers.
Liked by the sound of violence.
Him and Jones actually need to team up.
Yep.
I think they need to have a press conference where they get together and then suddenly, you know, they're up on stage and here comes Donald Cerrone, here comes Luke Rockhold, here comes Cain Velasquez. By God, King, I hear Bjorn Rebney's music. And it's reformation of the MMAAA. That's right, baby. That's what we need. That's what they need to do, just to get together to have some nebulous cause with poorly and vaguely explained reasons why they want to have an association with not really much of an objective, and maybe they'll get paid more, because I know Cerrone made out like a bandit, so hey, why not?
Victor, aren't you sad that only I chimed in with that Mookie stayed quiet? I think his deep baritone voice should have been in there with our little
It's too powerful. He'll be the one at the event with the microphone DJing that. So we'll you know, that's where, like, when you really need that earth-shattering thing, that's just like he does in May when it's Fredson Pajal's birthday. You know, it's who else you want running the turntables? Who else you want emceeing the festivities? You want that guy right there, my guy.
Mookie, I feel like you owe it to our listeners to give them a freebie here.
Well, with the way that the Mixed Martial Arts Athletes Association just was created and dissipated in record time, it feels like it should just be a simple meh.
No.
It's a meh.
That's actually not a bad point, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Liked by the sound of violence.
Does this show, like, is this corrupting the UFC? Even though I know that's a crazy thing to ask because they, probably aren't the cleanest company in the world, but I mean, is this a huge corruption of the UFC for them to be going into business with Abu Dhabi like this?
I think that's quite a loaded question, but I would have to say not exceptionally. And here's why, because the UFC, I find it very hard to even view things from perspective of the UFC, but here, let's give this a go. From the perspective of the UFC, it's very hard for them not to take an offer like what's on the table right now from the United Arab Emirates. And the cost on them, and even the amount they have to sell their soul, is not as much as it could have been, say, with Saudi Arabia. Not as bad as they have to do when they're in Russia, and they allow Ramzan Kadyrov to have front row seats at their events. Yeah. And it's and it's not even as bad as when they have in my opinion, as when they have Donald Trump in attendance and they do hagiography propaganda documentaries for him titled Combatant in Chief. I think that you want to talk about corruption and selling your soul. Absolutely, the relationship with the current United States administration is a primary example of that.
Liked by the sound of violence.
Does this show, like, is this corrupting the UFC? Even though I know that's a crazy thing to ask because they, probably aren't the cleanest company in the world, but I mean, is this a huge corruption of the UFC for them to be going into business with Abu Dhabi like this?
I think that's quite a loaded question, but I would have to say not exceptionally. And here's why, because the UFC, I find it very hard to even view things from perspective of the UFC, but here, let's give this a go. From the perspective of the UFC, it's very hard for them not to take an offer like what's on the table right now from the United Arab Emirates. And the cost on them, and even the amount they have to sell their soul, is not as much as it could have been, say, with Saudi Arabia. Not as bad as they have to do when they're in Russia, and they allow Ramzan Kadyrov to have front row seats at their events. Yeah. And it's and it's not even as bad as when they have in my opinion, as when they have Donald Trump in attendance and they do hagiography propaganda documentaries for him titled Combatant in Chief. Like, I think that you want to talk about corruption and selling your soul. Absolutely, the relationship with the current United States administration is a primary example of that.
Liked by the sound of violence.
Him and Jones actually need to team up.
Yep.
I think they need to have a press conference where they get together and then suddenly, they're up on stage and here comes Donald Cerrone, here comes Luke Rockhold, here comes Cain Velasquez. By God, King, I hear Bjorn Rebney's music. And it's reformation of the MMAAA. That's right, baby. That's what we need. That's what they need to do, just to get together to have some nebulous cause with poorly and vaguely explained reasons why they want to have an association with not really much of an objective, and maybe they'll get paid more, because I know Cerrone made out like a bandit, so hey, why not?
Victor, aren't you sad that only I chimed in with that Mookie stayed quiet? I think his deep baritone voice should have been in there with our little
It's too powerful. He'll be the one at the event with the microphone DJing that. So we'll that's where, like, when you really need that earth-shattering thing, that's just like he does in May when it's Fredson Pajal's birthday. It's who else you want running the turntables? Who else you want emceeing the festivities? You want that guy right there, my guy.
Mookie, I feel like you owe it to our listeners to give them a freebie here.
Well, with the way that the Mixed Martial Arts Athletes Association just was created and dissipated in record time, it feels like it should just be a simple meh.
No.
It's a meh.
That's actually not a bad point, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Liked by the sound of violence.
Him and Jones actually need to team up.
Yep.
I think they need to have a press conference where they get together and then suddenly, they're up on stage and here comes Donald Cerrone, here comes Luke Rockhold, here comes Cain Velasquez. By God, King, I hear Bjorn Rebney's music. And it's reformation of the MMAAA. That's right, baby. That's what we need. That's what they need to do, just to get together to have some nebulous cause with poorly and vaguely explained reasons why they want to have an association with not really much of an objective, and maybe they'll get paid more, because I know Cerrone made out like a bandit, so hey, why not?
Victor, aren't you sad that only I chimed in with that Mookie stayed quiet? I think his deep baritone voice should have been in there with our little
It's too powerful. He'll be the one at the event with the microphone DJing that. So we'll that's where, like, when you really need that earth-shattering thing, that's just like he does in May when it's Fredson Pajal's birthday. It's who else you want running the turntables? Who else you want emceeing the festivities? You want that guy right there, my guy.
Mookie, I feel like you owe it to our listeners to give them a freebie here.
Well, with the way that the Mixed Martial Arts Athletes Association just was created and dissipated in record time, it feels like it should just be a simple meh.
No.
It's a meh.
That's actually not a bad point, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
All right, everyone, we're back.
Yeah, we are. And we're going to talk about the cards that happened this last week.
Yeah, so I think we start with what?
First off, what we start with, Chris, is what you're drinking right now.
So I am drinking one of my favorite beers whenever I go to Jimbo's.
Hey, shout out to Jimbo's.
New English Brewing's Pure and Simple IPA.
Hell yeah. That's one of my go-tos for sure. I need to put it in another order with them.
Yeah, as do I. Always a good choice. And you mentioned a cocktail as, I hope no one heard this on the audio. I know it's our Q-in, right? So
so I did mention a cocktail. I am, if y'all can see, I'm rocking the Luau Room shirt, which is dope. First off, I should say this is not at all a sponsor other than any other way. Any of our sponsors are all fake and fucking we just say it because it's shit we like. Let's see. They are known as Art Boutique. If you go to ARKIVA Tropica with a K.com, I believe that's the website. But essentially they do old school, like retro tiki art. So a lot of like old matchbook covers they make into shirts, a lot of old menus they make into shirts, stuff like that. And I'm rocking the Luau Room shirt, which is of course the infamous logo that was part of the Luau Room, which was the tiki bar inside the Hotel Del Coronado down here in San Diego.
So I was gonna make a stupid joke when you said luau. I was like, "Well, I hope you're not wearing a Hawaiian shirt because nowadays."
No, I'm not trying to get involved with the fucking boogaloo idiots.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're ruining everything I worked for, motherfucker.
Did you see what former UFC fighter may or may not be associated? And I have no proof. I'm not saying this person is, but I saw. Let's just say they're wearing a Hawaiian shirt underneath some body armor, shooting assault rifles.
It's not a good look. I can't even wear. I love Hawaiian shirts and tiki shit. And I can't even wear it anymore because y'all motherfuckers ruin everything. So on that note, I was like, yo, you know what I should do on the break? I should just Google the Luau Room and see if there's a menu anywhere. not only is there a menu online from the old Luau Room, which features $1 drink, or 75 cent to $1 drinks, and a bunch of stuff like entrees like pineapple spare ribs and chicken chow mein for $1.50 or $1.90, because this is how long ago this fucking place existed. I think it was literally the 40s or the 50s. But I actually made 2 cocktails from the menu, because the menu has actually the fucking ingredients listed, which is weird and very unlike a tiki bar. So yeah, they actually have like legit their ingredients listed. So I made the Bachelor's Punch, which I'm drinking right now. It is a jigger of 151. Oh, wait, no, I lied. The first one I'm drinking is the Coronado Cooler, which is half a lemon. It says half teaspoon is sugar. I used I have a Demerara simple syrup that I used. And then it says use Bacardi rum. I did not use Appleton. But it's fucking delightful. It's kind of like, I don't know, like a lemon daiquiri kind of vibe to it. It's really good.
Nice. Sorry, I heard Appleton, and yeah. I mean, I know if you get, I don't mind Bacardi either, as I guess they really call it, Bacardi.
Yeah.
Right.
More like Bacardi F, you know what I'm saying? It's not a good rum. Anyway, the other one I made is the Bachelor's Punch, which is a jigger of a 151 Demerara rum, which I used Hamilton. So I have the False Idol Hamilton 151. And then lemon juice, orange juice, and it says to use 3 ounces of Claret Fancy Ice. I don't know what the fuck that is, so I just have regular ass ice. But I do have it in a sweet TGI Fridays American Luau fucking mug or glass that I found at a thrift store, Chris. So I feel like I'm keeping it very tropical over here for the. I feel like I am doing as much for the Fight Island cards and keeping them tropical as Otter Pops did by being on the cage this weekend. Did you see that shit?
Otter Pops.
Dude, they had an Otter Pops sponsor on the fucking cage. Otter Pops liked our tweet about it.
What?
Yeah. If you look at our Twitter, Otter Pops liked our tweet about Otter Pops on the cage.
I need to find that.
Yeah. It's fucking beautiful. They literally, and not only that, I think if you look at Dana White's Instagram, he says, what's better than these? And it's just a picture of the Otter Pops logo on the cage. It's fucking so stupid. It's the I think our tweet was, this is literally the only legitimate part about Fight Island. Is the Otter Pops logo. Which, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Otter Pops and 2 others liked your tweet.
Straight up. Fucking, it's beautiful. And big shouts out to Otter Pops being the only...
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, no, okay.
Yeah. But literally... Okay, so why don't we start with the fact that these are Abu Dhabi cards, they're not at all Fight Island. I don't know what Fight Island is, but this ain't it, dog.
Fight Peninsula, Fight Rory Island.
Yeah, I mean, fucking... The goddamn Bellator Hawaii cards were way more Fight Island inspired than this shit.
It's literally Fight Island.
Yeah. God forbid we talk about the Bodog event in Costa Rica that Masvidal fought on. So, yeah, that has been definitely the most disappointing part of this week. I mean, it was always going to be this way. We all knew it was always going to be this way. But doesn't make it any less trash, so... That being said, there has been dope-ass cards. I guess, briefly, do you want to touch on 251, since we haven't even got to that either yet?
Yeah, let me...
You want to pull up Tapology and we'll talk about
no, no, I already have a bunch of Tapology tabs open, 3 other ones. Let me just type 251. I totally wanted to search UFF 251. Hold on a second. God damn it.
So, 251, of course, was headlined by Uzvidal versus Masvidal. Yeah, 100%. Can y'all tell these drinks is working?
That's the next mythical fighter.
Yeah, no, 100%. Uzvidal will wrestle fuck the...
I prefer Marty Masvidal for George Usman.
There you go.
Marty Masvidal.
Marty Uzvidal.
Yeah. This pay-per-view is great. Pretty much all the way through. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. I mean, Usman did what Usman was always going to do, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever he posts now on social media, all the casual fans just reply to him with like a foot emoji.
Of course.
Yeah.
Which, fine.
They're like, "What's up, Toe Stomper?" It's like, God damn it!
I get it. All y'all have never seen a fight.
They've never seen Pride either, so it's all good.
Or just like any UFC card before the year 2015. Like, what the fuck? I don't. Yeah. God forbid they go back and look at Randy Couture's career.
Masvidal did have some moments. He did have some great moments. Clear, and I
he
remember
definitely won around. Yeah.
And I think I told you, and I think you agreed with me. We're both just basically in agreement pretty quickly. We're like, well, it's just going to start with Masvidal piecing up Usman pretty early because Usman thinks he can stand with them, and then Usman's like, oh fuck, time to take you down or put you in the clinch against the fence.
So it wasn't even that. It was Usman immediately in on the hips and fucking with Masvidal.
See, because I noticed Masvidal tried to hit him with that combo he hit on Darren Till, and Usman
that he really tried that shifting left hand a lot.
Yeah, and he did hit Usman with some clean shots at one point, but it just wasn't. He needed more with it. Really, he would have needed to land. Yeah, he really probably needed to land like a head kick. So really,
Usman's notoriously durable. I mean, dude has taken some clean shots throughout his career, and he's never really looked anything other than slightly perturbed by it. So,
yeah, great fight, great game plan by Usman. I would love to see, even though I think it'd be the same result, I would love to see a rematch with Masvidal with a full camp. I don't really think
I don't think it'd look any different.
It wouldn't look any different. It might be a little bit closer though. I genuinely think that. But it'd just be fun. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many other people I'd rather see fight for that belt right now.
I mean, Gilbert Burns definitely deserves that next shot. Not Leon Edwards. Fuck you, Ariel, for kind of just doing that. I get it. It's not a bad take necessarily because Leon was supposed to fight Woodley. I totally understand.
Yeah. Well, and especially since Usman says he's supposed to be out for a bit. That, like, if Usman is out for a bit, then yeah, totally can have Leon and fucking Burns fight. Why not?
Yeah.
That's totally fair. And the only reason Ali doesn't want to do that shit is because Ali wants guaranteed championship money no matter who wins. And he doesn't get that if Burns fights fucking Edwards.
Well, I guess I should say fuck you to Ariel because it's just his opinion, you know. I think it's because he did it pretty immediate, and I remember even Daniel Cormier was arguing with him, and he's like, no, let's let Gilbert get his shot. They already had booked it. Don't take away a fight that someone got booked. Depends. Circumstance and all that. Anyways, the co-main event, I scored it 1-2-4 for Holloway. Very close fight, though.
Yeah, so
it's
you and I
not
actually...
a robbery.
Well...
Not a robbery, as in, like,
I hate
Holloway.
how everyone likes this semantic-ass argument about, like, what is the word robbery
Because a
mean?
robbery would be like if, and yes, Holloway knocked down Volkanovski, 3 times for the entire fight? Or twice?
First 2
Yeah,
rounds.
robbery would be like, say in round 2, Holloway knocked him down 2 or 3 times in one round, which would be a 10-8, and then they still give it to Volk after it being a close fight.
Yeah, no, like, robberies... While I agree that robberies are generally reserved for the Diego Sanchez or Leonard Garcia type decision wins, also, I think we should not discredit the fact that, I would say even more so in, like, the John Jones, Dominic Reyes examples, like, yo, dude lost, technically, according to the judges, but he still got robbed of having the title he won. Like, I like that everybody likes to have this semantic-ass argument about, well, technically, bro, it's not a robbery because it was close. It's like, oh, really, dog? If you only got a couple dollars stolen off you other than $1,000, is that not a robbery? Or are we playing semantic bullshit about this? Like, also, we're using a fucking word that isn't actually associated with the actual... Like, it's a fucking metaphor anyway. So for you to argue semantics about a metaphor is really boring, and I'm so tired of so many podcasts doing it.
It's like people who confuse the use of literally and really.
Well, yeah, that literally drives me crazy. See what I did there? No, but yeah, it's just frustrating. I hate that people do that. I think it's Ariel started a lot of that. I think Luke plays into that a bit too. Some of the we will say favorable outlets for the UFC. Like
where
a lot of
so
times
where do you think? Do you think
I had Holloway 1-2-4? The thing is I number one.
I think Holloway should just say fuck featherweight because he's already beaten everyone's ass there and just go up to 155. and just put on some weight.
The problem is I don't know how 155 is going to treat Max. Like,
yeah, because he does have a giant reach disadvantage.
Well, and like he would have to put on so much weight and bulk up because like the problem that was the big problem he had in the Poirier fight was the size.
He looked good against Poirier. He just didn't have that sting.
Just didn't have
punch.
pop on his strikes. Which like I would like Volkanovski's chances at 55 better than Max's, to be honest. Just because I think Volkanovski probably translates well.
And just because it's a shitty fucking thing to ponder about, how do you legitimately think Cejudo, even though this fight will never happen, how do you think Cejudo... How do you think
you
Cejudo,
mean the next bantamweight challenger, Cejudo?
Yeah.
Or featherweight challenger?
I'm saying, yeah. How would you legitimately think Cejudo versus Volkanovski? Because I think it's actually pretty close. I think Volkanovski probably edges him because of the power advantage, but... I don't... I don't even know if Cejudo will be able...
I'm not talking about Cejudo because Cejudo, number one, is managed by a person who is blacklisted.
I'm just doing it.
You know what? We're blacklisting Ali. Fuck it. If he's blacklisting ESPN, we're blacklisting Ali. Ali, we will not have you or any of your fighters on this show.
I'm going full aerial mode right now. It's saying, just imagine, right? No, but seriously, fuck that fight. That's a garbage fight.
I mean, I think Volkanovski is too well-rounded to really have trouble with Cejudo. And I think the size difference will be palpable. That's
what I was... I the only reason why I said because it was brought up a lot between some viewers that I had over at the house we were watching it. Were like, bro, I think Cejudo could probably beat Volkanovski. I'm like, I don't know, I think he's too big. That was just my answer.
Not only too big, but I just think he's too well-rounded. And, like, for Cejudo to win that fight, he has to win grappling exchanges. And that's like a really tall order over 5 rounds.
And people don't realize Volkanovski has really long arms for being that short.
Yeah. Well,
so that'd be a big problem.
Really good use of distance. Like his ability to judge space and like his ability to his just overall spatial awareness is of the highest tier. That whole anybody that's out of Tiger Muay Thai or City Kickboxing, all those dudes have really good understanding of spatial distances and like kind of how to play that game. So here's the problem though. I don't ever want to talk about Cejudo right now because he's going to fuck up one of these two divisions, either 35 or 45 next, which is why we're not hearing shit about Aljo. Is because I have a feeling why we're not hearing shit about Aljo or why we're not hearing shit about what's next for Volkanovski, because basically we're waiting to figure out which one Cejudo wants to fight at or which one they can get him to fight at for a cheap enough price, which is going to be the most frustrating shit of all time.
So I'll just say this. Senator Cejudo, you're a great champion for as far as mixed martial arts, as far as what you've done, but please stay retired. Just please stay retired. Please stay retired. Please stay retired. That's my
or get rid of your manager. Well, I'll accept either one.
Start with getting rid of your manager, and then also stay retired because let's just let rankings go out for once in the sport, even though technically they don't actually have ever really mattered. Anyways, my performance of the night goes to the new bantamweight champion of the world, Petr Yan.
Yeah, man.
Holy fuck! Talk about just kind of just a war of attrition and just him kind of just flipping the switch when he knew in those championship rounds. That was absolutely impressive.
Rarely does a fight go from fun to fucking horrifying as quickly as that one
too. Also, shout out to Jose Aldo. He looked great.
I mean, for like 3 rounds, yeah.
Yeah, I know he like broke his rib potentially.
No, that's bullshit. That's just like a weird UFC. It was a liver shot. Or it looked like liver. It might have been solar plexus. Either way, it was just a big body.
It was a liver. Yeah.
Because you can tell because he's crumpled.
I don't know what Jose Aldo does next. I think he should stay at bantamweight just because he's now changed his diet and he's healthy. I don't know.
Oh, that is a dry ass drink. Oh my god, they must put simple in that.
Yeah, Petr Yan needs to fight Aljo. That needs to happen next. We'll see though. We'll hold our tongue on.
Yo, I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all right now. This Bachelor's Punch, I think they named it that because it's going to fuck you up. Because this is just all booze and really dry, weirdly enough, even though it's like, I guess it makes sense, lemon juice and 151 and fucking...
So great performance by Jan. He needs to fight Aljamain Sterling next. That needs to happen.
I also, I've heard a couple people call for Jose Aldo to move up 155. I think that'll be interesting, but I also don't know what that looks like at this point in time. And also, man, I don't know. I don't know what I want to see from Aldo. I want to see fun fights for Aldo that, like, are not title implication anywhere near that. Yeah. Like, I'd love to see, like, fucking, like, rematches from back. Like, what's Cub Swanson doing right now? Like, that'd be a fun fight to redo. Aldo and Cub Swanson.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
something like that. Where
Maybe
like
Korean Zombie, but maybe at a different catch weight.
Yeah, and also
No,
like I don't
maybe
know,
not. I don't know.
Korean Zombie's real close to the top of that division still. And
Yeah, not now.
Not that Aldo's not,
I'm
but
not
like
saying now, this
yeah.
did some of the
No.
and that's why I say catch weight, but they
yeah,
probably never.
but like
created
those
it.
kinds. Yeah, I want to see those kinds of fights if we're gonna keep seeing Aldo. I don't want to see fucking title implication shit anymore because it's just making me sad. Also, no more 5-rounders. I think we can all agree on.
Yeah. So yeah, great job by Petr Yan. Great job by Jose Aldo. I know that should have been stopped sooner. Shouts out to Leon Roberts.
Actually, yeah. Shouts out to
That's
Leon
for
Roberts
getting
for he stopped this fight yesterday, so it was
Yeah.
nice of him. It only took him a week and a half.
I think he thought he left the stove on.
Yeah, no.
In that
Well,
round, so.
yeah. Jesus
So,
Christ, dude. Just like
title
yelling
eliminator
into the
fight.
wind.
Yeah, this was a rematch. Rose
fight.
Namajunas getting revenge on Jessica Andrade.
Yeah.
I had this for Namajunas.
Yep.
I gave her the first 2 rounds. Andrade kind of turned it on in that final round, but it's a little too late.
100%. Andrade took the third, but it was not quite 10-8 because Rose was still landing deep into that round. Definitely not with the same effect, but like also you can't judge someone pale and markable as not marketable, although she is that too, but markable as Rose in comparison to Andrade, who never
she's
ever
not really
shows any damage ever.
She's marketable, but you can't be 6 feet near her without Pat Barry following you around everywhere.
Well,
so
to be fair, Pat Barry arguably shouldn't be within 6 feet of a lot of places. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, I disagree with that. But great fight by Rose Namajunas. I imagine at this point she fights Zhang Wei Li.
Yeah, no, she absolutely should, and it's gonna be a fucking banger.
Yeah,
I
it's gonna be a great fight.
I don't know that I like her chances.
Oh no,
I love her chances in 2 rounds.
Zhang Wei Li is winning that fight.
Oh yeah, unless Rose can finish it in 2 rounds, I think it gets really scary after that.
As far as the belt for marketability,
we have a new champ.
New champ of the marketability belt, and Amanda Hebos, who has a lot of fun energy.
She's literally the sweetest. Also, shouts out to her going up to 125 just to wreck Paige, and now she's going back down to her actual division of Charlotte.
I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah.
Wow, good on her. Yeah, Paige Van Zandt. I don't know where she goes.
Bellator. Austin Vanderford, her husband, is signed with Scott Coker. Scott Coker did an interview with MMA Fighting.
Okay, well, that's settled. Okay, well, good luck to Paige.
Also, their whole gym is really tight with Bellator. That's where Jake Smith trains out of bunch of dudes. Scrambly motherfucker who is like
no Ricky Stone's there.
Yeah, I know, but it's doesn't the dude who beat Chandler train there too? With the low kicks?
Oh, Brent Primus?
Yeah. Doesn't Primus train there?
I believe he's there.
I think so. I know Austin's there.
I know Chael's appeared there multiple times. It's like in a coaching format.
Well, yeah, that was Chael's gym back in the day with Fabiano Scherner and all them. It's now ATT Portland, I believe. But yeah.
Okay, so this next fight down below, we're just going down the card for those who are unaware.
Yeah, we're gonna start sprinting through some of this, but
I'll
boy,
sprint this now.
big boy's throwing hands.
This guy was annoying as fuck initially because
you don't like Yuri?
No. Just listen, let me finish.
Okay.
So, initially, he was annoying because I didn't like how he'd go like this with his wrist. I'm like, I get it, you're faking him out, but are you like trying to? I didn't get
weird.
it. It was weird.
He does weird shit. Yeah, for sure.
What didn't bother me though was his head movement was actually surprisingly good. He was
especially for light heavyweight.
And his power, Jesus Christ! Wow, I haven't seen a knockout like that at light heavyweight in, I guess, almost since Volkan did that too. Who was it? I
mean, you saw him do something similar.
At least I'm talking about like when it comes to just a fucking straight right.
Well,
I haven't seen someone like kill someone like that at light heavyweight since.
You saw Yuri do that to King Mo at Ryzen back not that long ago, actually.
Fuck yeah.
So like, it was one of those. Yuri's one of those dudes who's just been slowly smoking dudes over in
call
Japan.
out Johnny Walker, like, bro, don't even waste your
Oh,
time.
dude, how much fun is that fight though? That's the smartest call out for him because
And you know what's fucking sad? Johnny
putting-
Walker probably wins that fight in some fucked up way. I doubt it, but
yeah, just like step in, elbow in the clinch, and you're like, oh god, he died.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, I mean, Volkan Ozdemir is absolutely the secret of the ooze, as the CME likes to refer to him as. He 100% is that guy who, like, he's a tough out, and people don't do that to him. So, pretty crazy.
So good on Yuri Prochazka. This other fight, how did you score Muslim Salikov versus Easy Dos Santos? I scored a little bit for Dos Santos, but I'm not mad at the Salikov.
I was legit deep in the depths of making drinks and popping edibles at this point, so I don't have a
You're
ton.
preoccupied.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did not score this on the fly. However, I remember it being scrappy as fuck.
It was a very good fight. Could have gone either way. Almost could have called it a draw, but no one likes draws. So good performance by Muslim Salikov, the king of Kung Fu. And Dos Santos, or Zaleski, I should say, really, will be back. Yeah, this other one, though, really impressive. Anaconda choke in the first half of the first round. Mako Americani, Mr. Finland, defeating Scotland's Danny Henry. Great fight.
Yeah, just smoked him out the gate.
Great performance.
Immediately, like, locked down the Anaconda.
Outmatched.
He dropped him and then caught it, right?
Yes. Great performance. This one, this was an embarrassment of a fight. Because
that's right.
Santos got like kicked in the balls like 2 times.
Yeah.
You got like fucking kneed.
Should have been a DQ. If Mark Goddard has to yell at you, "What are you doing?" That's a DQ, dog.
This fight was a joke. Santos won, but it should have been a disqualification. Fucking Bogtov kicked him the balls twice. I think he also eye poked him and he kneed him. Bro, that's like 4 penalties.
Yeah, I think only the 2 dick kicks and the most blatant illegal knee. Everybody in the room, I feel like, watched that knee coming and was like, "No, don't do that." And then he still did.
What happened? Did Santos fuck Goddard's wife or some shit? Like, what's going on here? I mean,
I don't know, man.
Whatever. Either that fight sucked. Speaking of also another fight that really fucking sucked. Marcin Tybura versus Russian Max Griffin. This is really bad.
I mean, it
wasn't bad. It was just boring.
It was gonna be. It's what it was always gonna be.
Yeah. So good for Marcin Tybura. You got your unanimous dub.
Yeah. And he hands down got it.
This fight, I thought Zalga should have won, just based on the scoring, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the scoring on this stuff was kind of weird.
And then, okay, so this fight, the chick who lost, was she the one who blew weight, or was it the chick who blew weight won? I couldn't remember.
I thought it was a catch weight, but you might be right. Let me see. I thought it was agreed upon ahead of time, but I might be wrong.
Okay, right.
Either way,
good win.
I want to say Mello blew weight. I'm not positive though. Here, let me look it up. I will say we didn't do terrible on our picks for this card. I did actually pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I should see.
Yeah, Mello was the one that blew weight and then lost, which is rare. And then Davey Grant got that win over Martin Day, which was fucking nasty.
So I went.
Here, I got you. You went.
I might have changed my picks when I sent them to my friend. On some of them.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if there was 13 fights, I went 11 and I went 11 of 13, and you went.
I think I went 11 as well, but maybe not officially.
You definitely changed them then because you got the entire prelim card wrong. You had Ooze, you had Easy Dos Santos, you had Henry. and you
Okay,
had
yeah, I
Bogotov.
changed it up then when I sent him to. Maybe it's because he was betting, and I was like, wait, okay, what am I
Yeah,
really
if you're
gonna
betting,
bet?
yeah.
yeah, because dude, I could just like show you. This is like what I'd sent him. I
you
like
go.
fucking just circled him on the Tapology. So, yeah, okay. So I think I kind of doubled down. I was
Well,
like, you know what? I'm for his sake because he's putting money on it. Let me really think about this. And I was like, yeah.
Well, and
Because
part
I
of
remember
that was
initially I chose Uzdemir. I'm like, no. I gotta go Prochazka.
well, and part of that
do it.
too was like we going into it, we thought a lot of these were going to end up being sweaty decisions because this is before we knew that they actually built a real ass building this time. Which
Yeah.
Jesus, why this time? And also, kind of wonder how they made that happen.
Yeah,
In the summer,
and then lastly,
on
what it
2
to
weeks'
start
notice.
off the undercard or the prelims. What a great scrap between British fighter Davy Grant
Yeah.
and American fighter from Hawaii Martin Day.
Dude, banger,
fantastic.
and then Davy Grant just absolutely
Good
closing
dad
the show.
strength. Okay, so let's quickly go to another UFC card that happened.
Because there's been 3 since our last
I can't
episode
keep track.
somehow.
This happened on Wednesday. It was
Yep.
as if you're from Boston, Calvin Cater, dude.
Calvin
going up-
fucking Kada.
going up against Hawaii's Dan
Also,
Ige.
somehow there's also fights happening in like 20 minutes on Brave.
Yeah.
Good God. There's too much
We'll
anime.
start from the top. Absolute dominant performance. Ige, though, was a scrappy motherfucker. He actually stood and traded like a boss. Dude's got a great chin. Shouts out, though, to Cater's fucking takedown defense. Goddamn. And his athleticism, too, when he, like, fucking did that. Dude, he, like, leapt, like, a good, like, 3, 4, 5 feet in the fucking air on 1 foot. Like, holy shit. Just to rebalance himself.
Yeah. That whole
Like,
fight
this dude
was...
play basketball or some shit? Or is he just, like, nimble as fuck?
Dude, that whole fight was wild, and Ige to be able to eat that much damage and just
Honestly, he should have been
continually
knocked
press
out.
forward.
He really should have been knocked out. He took so many fucking crazy like hook combos to like
Well,
upper,
and
like,
his just
that jab.
his
Dude, eye.
nonstop willingness to walk forward, he'd never stop walking forward. It was just terrifying.
Yeah, it's Hawaiian fucking toughness, man. Good on him.
Good on him in every way except for who he's affiliated with as a business
I
partner.
know. Yeah. We won't mention that.
We gotta mention it, or else
We will, but we won't say the name.
Yeah.
It's definitely not Robert Bright.
They
Just kidding. I gotta stop doing that.
let's just say Denny Gay isn't talking to ESPN anytime soon. You know what I'm saying?
Calvin Cater looks to be pretty much top 5 talent. The only unfortunate thing for him is he's currently number 6, and I think all the top 5 guys either have a fight booked or they're just not fighting. So good luck to you, Calvin Cater. Let's see how it goes at 145.
Yeah.
The only thing I think of if I'm Cater is I fight the loser, even though no one likes to fight losers of a fight. Maybe you fight the loser of Ortega Zombie?
I mean,
Let's see, if I'm him,
That's not bad. That's not bad.
I fight the winner. I fight the winner.
yeah, I would say
I fight
winner.
the winner.
Right?
No. If you can't fight the winner of that, fight the winner of Rodriguez and Zabit. All right, Zabit, you beat me in a 3-round fight in Russia. Let's do 5 rounds, motherfucker. I know you're gonna
Actually, dude, yes, you are completely right. Either of those is the answer. Whether depending on, I would say the winner of Zombie and Ortega is probably getting a title shot.
You're gonna get a title shot.
So then I would say probably either you run, if Zabit wins, you run it back as a 5-rounder, or
think Zabit wants to take that rematch.
well, no,
Yeah.
he's not gonna want any part of that shit. But I also
It's not now.
Also, does Zabit beat Yair in? Because that's a 5-rounder too, right?
That's a main event. Fuck.
I don't-
Because Yair's really.
They
actually
both
surprised
fade
me.
after
He's
about
that
3.5
dude's in that-
rounds.
I'll be honest, that Yair, ever since he got the brakes beaten off him by Frankie, has really turned it around. That dude's
Has he
looking
though?
really good.
Because he lost the shit out of most of the fights he's been in up until the second one.
Actually, you know what? Now that you say that, though, he did beat Jeremy Stevens when Jeremy Stevens is ranked way too high.
And also at the end of that fight, Jeremy Stevens was beating the shit out of him. Also, he beat Cater, who at the end of the fight was beating the shit out of him. Also, he beat
Wait, did Rodriguez already fight Cater?
or not Cater. Who
No.
am I thinking of?
Yeah.
Rodriguez just fought
Well, he beat
Who's the other
he beat
dude?
Zombie, who literally beat him for
Yeah.
like fucking 24 out of the 25 minutes.
Well, and there was another one too recently where like he won that fight, but he was getting his ass kicked for a lot of it, wasn't he? Or am I mixing it up with another?
It was when he first fought Stevens.
Yeah, you're right. It was the two Stevens fights. You're right. You're right. I forgot they
and
did that
it was
twice.
it was the second one. He actually dropped Jeremy Stevens a couple times with like kicks to the body. He actually looked really good.
Right. I remember there being two fights after a Zombie. I didn't remember that the first one was the Mexico debacle shit. So yeah.
No, you mean Stevens?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, but after saying after.
I know.
Zombie,
Yeah. But legitimately, Yair beat Stevens in the second fight. The first fight was bullshit fight. The second fight, he beat him.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
It was not looking great towards the end of it, though.
Yeah. Either way, I think Calvin Kattar at some point fights for the belt based on his trajectory. The guy's got good takedown defense. He's got fucking fantastic boxing.
Super slick, super quick hands.
Good defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You say good defense, but like, dude got clipped a lot.
He did. Yeah. So maybe his movement could work a little bit more, or just maybe I don't know.
I think it'll be interesting when we start seeing him against people who
he was
are like
defending
legit
against,
KO threats.
He defended against
that mix
head kicks
up
very well, as far as kind of keeping a high like shell up. Because he didn't really, but it was just that little jab, and then it was the shots to the body. I think he was kind of just willing to absorb at that point, because like, well, if I just take these to the body, then I could kind of go literally down the middle.
Well, and I forget who made the comparison this week. I want to give credit to I want to say it was one of the guys on the Fight Site MMA podcast, but I'm not positive. I could be mixing that up. But I remember somebody this week ended up pointing out that Kattar has a lot of like early Justin Gaethje vibes, like Justin Gaethje before the recent change in style, where he tends to just do a lot of high guard and high guard shelling and kind of working off of that, and just kind of, for lack of a better term, just kind of sitting and catching shots on the arms a lot. Although there was a couple people this week that kind of had early Justin Gaethje vibes to him. Like we'll get to it later, but some dudes are just willing to catch a hail of hands in the beginning of a fight on the arms, and then see what's good going forward. So, man, Tim Elliott, Ryan Benoit, how'd you score this fight? Because I did not have Tim Elliott winning, if I remember right. I could be mixing it up.
Initially, I had Benoit.
Let me pull up MMA decisions to make sure.
Watching it again, I think I barely gave it to Elliott.
Okay, I didn't watch it a second time, so that could be why. Let's see. Cartilage. Yeah, actually, that wasn't even a split. What did everybody have in the... Yeah, no, a lot of people had that for Benoit, according to the media. Yeah, a lot of people. That's how I had it. I get it. It was a close fight. Third round was close, but
I think it's because Elliott took him down, I think, a couple times in that third round, and the judges were like, all right.
Yeah. And, to be fair...
It was competitive for all three rounds. Tim Elliott was game.
Yeah. I was just surprised that Tim Elliott ended up getting the actual nod in it. But, yeah, fun fight overall, though. Ton of fun scrambles in it. And Ryan Benoit still showing that he has crazy power in his hands for that weight class. Yeah.
And in this fight right here is the battle of the bantamweight natty boys.
That's
right.
It was
a joke I saw on Reddit. It's only because
it was a fun one, man.
When Figueiredo had weighed in, Cody Stamen had commented saying, "Looks less juicy this time." He didn't say his name. That's all he said. It's like, well, he looked in the mirror?
Yeah. Decent point. Yeah. It was...
Good fight, though. Real good fight.
Super good. Rivera dominant. Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, it was... There's one of those rounds you could have arguably gave to Cody, but overall, it was... it was a scrappy fight, and I feel like a lot of it came down to Cody just couldn't put enough volume out there without getting countered hard. And yeah, a lot of it came down to Jimmy Rivera just being able to shut down a lot of the grappling game, which I feel like if you shut down the grappling game on Cody Stamann, I feel like I feel like it takes away a lot of what his game is built on, which is momentum, right?
All right, we probably should try to breeze this. Not disrespect to some of these
No,
fighters.
you're right. We
There's
should
a lot of
burn
fights
through some of these.
Okay. I'll let you talk
tough
about this
loss
because
for Molly McCann.
I missed this fight unfortunately because I was working during some of these.
Yeah, it was a tough loss for Molly McCann, man. She just kind of was beat everywhere in this one. Just couldn't hang in the grappling exchanges, and over time it just got worse and worse. Talia Santos is looking legit, and also you gotta wonder, like, Molly faded pretty hard towards the end of that third round too, which I feel like didn't help. But you gotta wonder how much like travel and stuff like that is affecting people. So yeah, tough loss, but I mean, Talia Santos is legit, and if this was gonna go that way, it would have been like this. So.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
How about let's talk about my new guy, Lazez, though. Oh my god!
Yeah, my
first
friend
off,
of the podcast, Jake.
Yeah.
He had texted me. He's like, "Bro, are you watching this fight?"
Oh my god!
And I tuned in. I'm like, "Oh shit,
dude!"
Yeah.
Holy! Not only that, Razak Al-Hassan, not great news around his name in the recent past. I mean, he did get acquitted.
I think he's
so
acquitted.
like, yeah.
Did
But, like, there's also
it
weird
was like a false accusation, or
there's like some weird circumstances around that, like there always is. So like, I don't know. I'm not cheering for dude. I'm not cheering for dude. But when
I'm
I see,
neutral on it because
yeah,
I need.
but
to
when I
see
see Lazez come out and shit kick him first 3 rounds, I'll feel bad about it. But yeah, Lazez, like similar to Justin Gaethje, just decided, I'm just gonna shell up and let Abdul Razak Al Hassan throw 14,000 punches at my face in the first round, and just survived it, and then went to town just shit kicking him for about 2.5 rounds. It was great. It was such a good fight. To be fair, Abdul Razak Al Hassan, super aggressive early. I mean, he was clipping dude hard. He clipped him also, like, he started pouring him back on late in the third as well. Like, he was competitive throughout that whole fight, but holy shit,
to
Lazez looked good.
Shouts out to Lazez representing the country Tunisia.
Yeah. Dude, just like I will guarantee you, I will not only I'll like focus highly on that dude's fights going forward, but I want to hear what he has to say, because that dude is dynamic as shit, and I have a feeling he's probably really interesting to listen to going forward. So, yeah.
And so I'll have you talk about this next fight too, because I just saw an article that the UFC is pushing this guy, and Jake
Shimaev already has another fight booked. That's how dominant this win was.
So Jake mentioned to me people are calling this guy Khamzat Chimaev, if I'm saying that.
I think it's Shimaev.
Shimiev. They're calling him Khabib.
Yeah.
Or Habib.
Yeah. It checks out. Also, his next matchup is Reese McKee, I believe, right? Who's going to
isn't he literally fighting like this fucking Saturday?
I think it's
to Whitaker.
I think it was 10 days after his last fight. So yeah.
Yeah, no, like he's literally already fighting like this next Saturday.
Yeah, it's this Saturday he's fighting Reese McKee, and he's gonna beat the shit out of Reese McKee. I like Reese McKee, but like you know what he did to John Phillips? It's gonna be like that.
And also shouts out to Shimiev. He trains at All Stars in Sweden.
Yeah,
with Gus and like Jimmy Manua and those guys.
Yeah, he's a goddamn beast.
Yeah.
Dude,
he's middleweight, right? Yeah, middleweight.
Yeah,
okay.
He's a
monster. No wonder why they're calling him Habib. I imagine he's Dagestani then. I don't know why else you call him Habib.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, like I think this fight with Reese McKee is gonna be awesome. I just don't think Reese McKee has the grappling pedigree to be able to hang with him.
Yeah. This next fight, speaking of prospect, at 145, Lerone Murphy. Getting that KO, vicious kill, ground and pound.
Dude, talk about guys I want to pay attention to.
Ricardo Ramos.
Yeah, talk about guys I want to pay attention to going forward. Holy
climbs
shit.
to 9-0, still undefeated. This dude's gonna be a factor at 145 and an already stacked division.
Yeah, no, 100%. He's a blast to watch. He is constantly just murdering dudes early. Those are always weird guys to judge because they're like. Or to kind of project where they're gonna go, because like dudes who are murdering, especially dudes from England who are murdering people early, like you get a lot of Mark Diacases who, like, at a certain point you hit a level where you're like, man, you're really good at these couple things, but if people figure out the one thing you're not good at, it gets real tricky real quick. And I feel like there might be a bit of that to Lerone Murphy, but so far he's just going out smoking dudes. And also, how scary was that ground and pound, dude? Oh my god, it wasn't even it was terrifying. That's a terrifying man.
Yeah, I got to go back and watch prelims for some of these because unfortunately, pretty much all of these fights, starting at Lerone Murphy, I had missed. Unfortunately,
I mean, like, definitely don't imagine Jared Gordon wrestle fuck Chris Fishgold for 3 rounds, and you know what that fight looks like. Joshua immediately armbarred Belbita, so you know what that fight looks like.
And by the way, shout out to all the different representations of other countries. You got Georgia, looks like Moldova.
Well,
I think
that's
Modestas Buskauskas, he's from Lithuania.
That's because they're filling all the contracts that they haven't been able to do for a year.
I see.
Because they're about to run out of time.
The only other Lithuanian fighter besides this Modestas Buskauskas, at least by blood, is Rose Namajunas. But as far as so it's kind of interesting to.
Well, and
see
also if you scroll down and look at all the canceled bouts, you now realize where all the foreign fighters came from. Because you're like, oh yeah, there's like 14 names that should have been on this card that like they
looks
just
like
found...
a lot of Brazilians getting COVID.
Yeah, well, those are Americans, one of the two, Floridians or Brazilians. Go ahead and take your pick. They're so different as people.
It's like, hey, COVID's a big problem in Brazil. I'm just gonna go to the United States where it's also a massive problem. We're gonna go Florida.
Yeah, 100%. Shouts out to the Apex closing next week, I'm sure. Oh god, it's our country's we're a third world country, Chris. I hope you're ready to accept this truth. Anyway, on that note, and Jack Shore had a great win over Aaron Phillips. That one's actually definitely worth going back and looking at. The win over Michailidis is legit as well. That was just a dominant ass performance. So yeah, stuff to go back and look at for sure. And man. But I feel like the big takeaway from this card, though, for me, was I don't know where Lizez came from. Where did he fight previously? Because I feel like he's familiar. Nope. He fought at Probellum Dubai. And then UAE. Oh, okay. He fought in Brave. That's where I've seen him. But, man, holy shit, is that a guy to keep an eye on.
100%.
Yeah. Great fucking... that is one of the most fun prospects I've seen come around in a while. The way he's working, dude, so much body work. His entire game was body work. It was beautiful. That whole card actually had a ton of great body work on it.
Yeah, that was a solid card. We'll quickly get into what just occurred last night. So we had Davison Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez 2 for the vacant men's flyweight title, which is still a thing.
Yeah.
For those who were able to tune in, or unless your ESPN app is having problems, which mine did for a second.
Mine did as well. I'm guessing yours did at the exact same time as everyone else, which is
so not for the co-main. I was able to see that.
No, it was right before the co-main, though.
Yes,
Yeah,
because right when it came back on,
luckily I used
Kelvin Gastelum was being introduced.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, great time.
Luckily I used desktop versions and I know how to refresh a page.
I was at work, so I was on the Roku TV at work in Brewery, so luckily it tuned in. Okay. Anyways, Davison Figueiredo. I'll ask you this,
dude.
Besides this,
have you felt sadder during a title performance in a while?
I felt really bad.
Actually, no. You know what? The last time I felt this sad during a title performance was the 5th round of the Jose Aldo fight, but it was a very different kind of sadness.
So my question is, besides this, if this isn't already the most dominant title victory ever, what's up there as far as just pure domination?
I mean, most Kamaru Usman fights, most GSP fights, most Anderson Silva fights, Mighty Mouse over Benavidez would be the obvious example for me, that when he killed him. Remember when he hit him with that right hand and Benavidez died?
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. There's a couple. Habib, what did he...
Oh, I mean, a lot of Habib fights,
I mean, Habib versus Poirier pretty much is a fucking beatdown.
The Conor fight was just a beatdown.
Conor was...
Conor didn't do shit.
For one round, he kind of was
to be fair, like, Yeah,
To be-
it depends on like the
That third round, he actually was hitting Khabib with some uppercuts, but Khabib's made of fucking Russian genetics and cybernetics. Guy's a freak. So
It feels like the kind of beatdown though that like you know what the best
it's a
comparison.
beatdown when you stretch it out for the entire fight.
Well, and that's the thing is like
not round by round.
yeah, and this was so condensed that like I feel like the best comparison is like imagine if Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier happened in one round where Max got stopped. Like that was kind of the feel in this fight.
Oh, like that first round.
Well,
Some
just
shit.
like the entire, if you were to condense the entire 5 rounds of that fight, of where Max is just constantly getting overpowered and clearly nothing is affecting his opponent, whereas he's just getting smashed with giant
It's like,
counters.
it was obvious, yes, Max did, answer Dustin Poirier and hit him with a lot of shots, but it just was not damaging Dustin.
Well, it was like if you
Where he was in a lot of danger. He was in danger with volume at one point, like shelling up, but it's every time you saw Poirier hit Max, you're like, fuck, this is probably gonna get stopped.
Well, and it was like that, but if you condensed it way down in time into like a 4-minute period, or however many minutes, 4-minute period of like just it ended with a stoppage, like it was just such a one-sided beating. Like it was rough. And to be fair, Benavidez landed some clean shots early in that fight, and it just didn't do shit. Like it just didn't at all. Like Figueiredo was like, oh yeah, that actually it do like I think one of them like touched him up a little, but he immediately just started marching forward and throwing giant sweeping hooks again.
It's I think Joseph Benavidez, he said in he's like, yeah, I'm never gonna get title shot again. He's like, well, I can't go out like that. I agree. I think I take at least 1 or 2 more
and
fights.
Also, I think he beats a lot of people in that division, but I want to see him take like 9 months off.
I think he will. I think as
he has
far
no
as
reason
the future
not to, right?
Figueiredo, I think they have him fight like with Brandon Moreno or I don't even know who he fights. And at this point, I'm almost like
Brandon Moreno would be fun, but also like actually no, like something like that. Like I think what Joe should. I would like to see. What I'd like to see is Joe take like 9 months to a year, take time off, just recover. He had 2 really hard fights this year already in a year that like you don't need to be fighting this year anyway. Like you're doing all right, I would imagine. I feel like Joe manages his money well, and like his wife is still working regularly, and like I feel like they're all right. Like I'd like to see Joe take some time off, just recover, and then like see what he wants to do. But again, a dude that I would like to see in fights, but like similar to Aldo, I don't necessarily want to see Joe in like title contender fights again right now. Like that's not. It does nothing for anybody. Those kinds of fights, right?
Yeah, I'll say this as far as and I agree, it doesn't do anything for any one of those fights. As far as what Figueiredo should do, he'll fight the next guy up. I wish this guy could make weight again. I would love to see him fight Cejudo because I think
he made weight for this fight. To be fair,
no. I'm saying I'm wishing Cejudo could. I'm saying I wish Cejudo can make weight at 125.
He'll never
That's
do it
my
again.
point.
There's
No, he'll never. I know that.
Much like with Conor and 145, that he has no incentive.
I know. But I would love to see Figueiredo and Cejudo with it, and that would probably be at 135 anyway.
That'd be a fucking scary fight for Cejudo too. I think that's probably arguably one of the scarier fights for Cejudo. Right?
I think what's inevitable is Figueiredo at some point tries to or challenges for the 135 belt if he feels comfortable doing that.
He's real big for that weight class.
For 125.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, as far as how he matches up with like a Piotr Jan, I mean, I probably still take Jan because his boxing and his power.
So crisp. But like also,
and his
could Figueiredo just club him? Yeah, could Figueiredo just club him behind the ear on accident one time and a counter and kill him? Yeah, absolutely. Figueiredo has crazy power for that.
I also want to see Figueiredo fight someone with some crazy fuck you power like a Jan or even a Cody Garbrandt
or an assassin baby even. Like, dude, Brandon Moreno and Figueiredo would be they've never fought, right?
No, they've never. I think that'd
be a lot of fun. I don't know because assassin baby is not like. He's off a win, but he had a loss right before that, right?
Well, that's the fucking flyweight division.
Yeah,
to
be fair, and also how many fights are happening ever. So, yeah.
So, yeah, good, great performance. Absolutely dominating fashion by The Deus de Guerra, the god of war.
And also, he's out here fucking primping hair and fucking kissing babies and shit afterwards. I don't know if you've been seeing some of the... He's making sushi, evidently. I've seen videos of Davison Figueiredo.
I know he has a pet bull named Ferdinand.
Not only that, but I've seen pictures of
buffalo.
I've seen pictures of Davison Figueiredo doing women's hair with his belt on since the fight happened. I've seen pictures of him, or I've seen video of him slicing sushi at a sushi restaurant. I don't know what's going on with Davison Figueiredo, but I'm here for it.
Sounds like to me he's making the right moves.
Yeah, no, hey, we need more wacky Brazilian characters in the sport, because they are, especially ones that don't have 14 kids and are driving drunk on motorcycles with them.
Shout out to
let's not shout out.
Yeah.
Let's not shout out the guy who got hit by a grenade.
Yeehaw.
Exactly. Speaking of bulls. Anyway, Jack Hermanson absolutely housed Kelvin Gastelum in a real ass way.
Yeah, I saw someone say all Kelvin had to do was just kind of regroup, step over, which...
I mean, yeah,
I think
but
they
like
said that
heel
because
hooks
he didn't
are...
look like... I think it says because they thought he didn't even try to defend. He's just like, ow, that hurts.
That's how heel hooks work. They don't affect, like... Everything I've ever learned about heel hooks is that they don't hurt until you're fucked up.
You know what I noticed is, like, right as he kind of caught Kelvin in it, you see Hermanson really fucking hard smash his elbow into the back of Kelvin's calf or Achilles, and then he falls, which is really smart. It was so quick, I didn't even notice that. Right. He literally just, like, really fucking bam right in the back of his calf, and Kelvin goes, oh, fuck, and then he falls, then he regrips it, and then cranks it.
Oh, weird. I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah, dude, he literally elbows the fuck out of, like...
That's a really weird move, but I wonder, like... Huh.
Oh no! It definitely looked like it affected Kelvin.
He
elbowed him. I think he got him in the Achilles because that must have hurt really fucking bad. But you
like,
see him literally crank as hard as he can. And he goes bam! He goes right on the back of like his Achilles or calf, and then weird. Kelvin falls. Maybe it's like a dead leg or some shit, right? And then he just cranks that heel. And then
I would guess it's just like a leverage thing where it's like. If like, you know what I mean, if you get hit right behind the knee, your knee's gonna buckle, kind of thing. But
I think it just buckled him, and he was able to get more leverage.
Yeah, but what was crazy, he caught an outside heel hook too, not an inside heel hook, which is even kind of wilder. So man, absolutely just housed Kevin Gastelum in a real ass way. And this, like I said earlier in the show, this is a fight that, man, I 100% had Kelvin just off of like, man, I was kind of right. I was like, Jack Hermanson's not going to get on top. So how's that going to turn out? And it turned out with Kelvin Gastelum getting heel hooked, which I did not see coming. So I mean, it makes sense now that I've heard it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's how that would play out.
What I appreciate from Hermanson is his post-fight interview is all class. He's like, listen, he's like
great. He's like,
listen,
one from that
he's
area.
like, this is a big win for me. He's like, at this point is where I see myself in the title picture. He's like, I think no matter what, he said Jared Cannonier deserves the next title shot.
Because he had a rough loss to him.
Yeah, and he's like, Jared Cannonier absolutely deserves the next title shot after Adesanya and Costa fight. He says, what I would like to do is fight the winner of Till and Whitaker. I mean, we'll see if those guys want to take that fight, because they shouldn't have to, because they're, like, up there.
Yeah, but also Till and Whitaker have no right to a title shot right now.
Yeah, so... Because Till is, number 4?
A win over
like
either one...
2?
Well, and a win over either one of each other at this point still doesn't put him in title contention or at
Especially
all relevancy.
Darren Till. All due respect, Darren Till, and I like him at 185.
Like, that fight has no relevancy to the division, really. Like, it's a great fight, and, like, yes, it is relevant in that they are both big names, but it's not all relevant in that, like, they have relevant wins in that division right now. I don't want to...
And by the way, we'll talk about it more... Well, whenever we can record, we'll have to figure it out.
Hopefully Friday this week. I'm hoping Friday night. But
are you leaning any sort of which way until Whitaker?
Man, I don't know. It's basically a where's Robert Whitaker at test is my take on it.
Because my take is Till at least in that Masvidal fight, was very keeping his chin up and his hands down.
I mean, it's what he does. It's what he's always done.
I don't, because if he does that, I know Whitaker's game is he explodes and hits you from the inside.
Right, he'll duck his head and throw over.
I think
hands.
Till, just based on his performance against Gastelum, who has a very good, quick 1-2, Till doesn't leave his head down anymore. He's like, well, I got it. This is a whole different ballgame. And yeah, I could almost see Till just sniping
but
and countering Whitaker the whole fight.
The Gastelum fight, no one did shit. What about that counter?
It was just shitty point fighting.
They just didn't actually engage. Like Whitaker won't play that.
It was just Till barely engaged.
Whitaker doesn't have those fights. That's not how Whitaker fights. Like Whitaker will explode in.
I think I'm leaning Whitaker. If you just tell me who you're gonna choose.
See, I'm leaning Whitaker partially. I think if he's smart, he'll play a really like feint heavy game and throw a ton of calf kicks. Behind feints and like leaping 1-2s, but Robert Whitaker definitely loves jumping into lead hooks and just like lunging in, and that is great to get countered with a straight left, which is a little terrifying as well. So I don't know. It makes me nervous. Out of the gate, and having not done any tape study yet, I'm leaning Whitaker, just because I think Whitaker has the better all-around game, and the better, if he works a game plan, I think he wins. But if his game plan is, I'm going to leap in and hit Darren Till in the face, he's going to get fucked up. But yeah, anyway, Jack Hermansson, fucking excellent win, cool dude, and man, hard not to like Jack Hermansson. I mean, honestly, hard not to like dudes from that part of the world. They're all like just genuinely seem like nice boys. You know what I mean?
Well, Hermansson's got that fucking Viking blood, Viking mentality.
Right. Well,
so as ferocious as that motherfucker is, he's like equally as nice.
And I don't know that I actually mentioned it, but he was on the Bash as well this week, which I don't know that we actually even brought that up because the Kareem part was so good. But or Kareem Zidane part. But yeah, Jack was on that episode as well, and like he talked a little bit with him. Just about, he asked him about why the fuck people in Sweden, for some reason, like herring so much and stuff like that. And he was like very funny and personable in it. So I highly recommend that. And like if you ever heard Jack Hermansson talk in general, he's a lot of fun. So anyway, the fight before that was Rafael Fiziev Fiziev rather.
Is this guy from Kyrgyzstan, like Valentina? I can't tell what flag that is.
I believe.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Okay.
You're better with
shouts out
flags
to
than I am.
Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah.
This dude.
I don't know what their human rights situation is like, so maybe not shouts
out to
Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan fighters. That's
there you go.
When I'm saying that, guys, that's the caveat to that.
But
anyways,
dude,
this
giant
guy
win
is
over
primarily a
Diaz.
grappler. Yeah, this fight was great. Both fighters looked great. Diaz looked great, but
huge win, huge statement over a dude who Mark Diaz has been looking really good lately, especially after following the win over not Todd Duffy, god damn it, Joe Duffy. His win over Lando Venata.
Way different there.
True, but his win over Joe Duffy was wait, what do you mean? Joe Duffy's been at 55.
No, you said Todd Duffy.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. That's a big weight difference.
100 pounds.
To be fair, I might take Fiziev over Todd Duffy. Like, depending on, like, if Fiziev can last...
Fiziev can enter the Matrix again, right?
Or if he can make it to the second round, then he might... yeah, no... Venata had a really good run against Joe Duffy and Venata. God damn it. Diaz had a really good run against Joe Duffy and Venata. But holy shit. Yeah, Fiziev is just... I mean, he is classic.
That guy moves like he shouldn't. He's like built like a grappler, but he's like also got that kickboxing movement. It was really confusing.
He's got that Thai kickboxing background. He's out of Tiger Muay Thai, which is why he's so sharp. By the way, I saw this on Twitter, and this is a really good point that I 100% have been noticing as well. Everyone who's like, oh, he entered the Matrix. What a crazy thing. No one's ever seen this. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, right.
I saw someone post like, a lot of y'all be exposing yourselves that you don't watch Muay Thai. It's 100% true. Because you see these, I feel like I see a GIF every week of someone in Muay Thai just fucking full on slipping a kick with a really, really long lead. And it's really funny seeing MMA fucking lose their goddamn. By the way, Adesanya done this a lot also. And people lose their mind when he did that, even though he did it in kickboxing for a fucking decade before that or whatever. But yeah, man, his ability to just completely break down Diakiese's game and pick him apart from range was absolutely exceptional. And I mean, he's been a dude to keep an eye on for a while now. I feel like people in the know have been on him since the what old was it? It wasn't ACA, was it? No, it was Road. I feel like since his Road FC fight, or if not the Road FC fight, definitely the Titan fight. I feel like people in the know have known dude's gonna be a problem for people. So, yeah, man, he is absolutely here, and that is a giant statement to get that win over Marty Case in the way he did.
I did not see this next fight. I did see the finish though, and my
oh
knee
my
was
god.
tingly. I had like a phantom pain in my right knee.
I'm limping just thinking about it. It's fucking, oh my god.
Dude, choke me out, fucking kick me in the head and knock me out before I ever get knee barred.
Oh, not only that, but like, that was one of the ugliest knee bars I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, the chick's just like bloody fucking screaming.
And it was like full fucking, it wasn't even like all hips, it was like full body weight and hip extension. It was crazy, the angle. And also, maybe I don't watch enough BJJ at competitive levels anymore. Maybe I haven't been paying attention. I've not seen someone counter a calf slicer with a knee bar, but holy shit, does that work? Evidently, holy fuck, because that calf slicer was deep as shit, and I thought she was in trouble, but nope, steps over. It's one of the nastiest knee bars we've ever seen. And R.I.P. to Juana Carolina, who I don't think we're gonna see again, unfortunately, in the UFC. I mean, she had when your wins are a contender series fight against a chick who taps standing, and a fight against Priscilla Cachoeira. Not great. Also, she was supposed to fight Yanan Wu and Lipsky 4 separate times between the two of them. Most of them were either to injuries or coronavirus, which coronavirus can't blame, but yeah, I don't know. I also, like, I have zero going into this. I feel like I was one of the few people who was like pretty confident that Lipsky was gonna be all right, just because like Lana Carolina is big, but she hasn't fought anybody with any kind of relevance. So yeah, good to see Lipsky get a good win because she needed one. And yeah, it's a big fucking statement. Askar Askarov got a win over Andre Pantoja allegedly. Although I heard it was I was drinking heavily this weekend, so I'm not even gonna lie. I absolutely did not score this live. However, nope, everybody had it for Askarov. So what the fuck fight am I thinking of? Evidently not this one. Yeah, Askarov wrestle fucked him, right?
I think that's how it went down. Yeah, because this is
actually, or did he kickbox him?
The only glimpse I saw is
he kickboxed him at range. What am I talking about? I think you know what? I'm gonna be honest right now. I don't remember this fight. Oh, that's right. I remember. Halfway through this fight, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. This dude's signed with Berkut FC. Fuck this shit." And walked away and made a drink. So, yeah. Shouts out. Actually, no. Anti shouts out to Berkut FC is my point. Because motherfucking Kadyrov. Anyway, what were you saying about Askarov?
I don't even remember because I didn't even see this fight.
Well, there you go. Did you see any of the other undercard?
I saw Grant Dawson almost rear naked choking near Amani.
Dolidze threw the same knee over and over again until he murdered
then I
a man
saw
with it.
Tarasukin destroying Davi Hamas. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the story of this card. The Dawson win over Narimani was solid as fuck. Joe Duffy got subbed with the quickness in the first. Just literally kind of stuck his head in a guillotine and then was kind of stuck there.
And he retired, right?
Yeah, retired afterwards, which, it's a bummer, man. Joe Duffy should have had more shine on his career, and he should have gotten more acclaim than he did. At least he'll still be known as a guy who fucking submitted McGregor. I know, but like, what the fuck? He's so much more than that. That dude was really
I know.
But also, he faced a lot of tough injuries, and like by the time he got to the UFC, he left a lot in the cage before that. Brett Johns got the win over Montel Jackson in a competitive fight. That was pretty dope. A lot of fun scrambles and that shit. And then, I don't know. There were some fights before that. Amir Al-Bazzi caught the fucking... I'm not going to call it the slowest strangle I've ever seen on Malcolm Gordon, but it wasn't the fastest strangle I've ever seen. Let me put it that way. And Malcolm Gordon... I think he's still about to start defending that triangle here in a couple minutes, so... man, I don't know. I have a weird feeling about all these cards. Like, they've been fun, but also the Abu Dhabi shadow that kind of looms over them is palpable, especially with all the fucking ads. Can we talk about that for a second? How many? Because you watch this on ESPN Plus, right?
Yeah.
How many Abu Dhabi tourism ads did you have to sit through, and at what point did it start making you really uncomfortable?
To be fair, I wasn't off the clock until the Diaz Fiziev fight.
Right, it started early. So.
When I would look up at the TV, I definitely saw a lot of tourism stuff.
A lot of pictures of buildings and museums.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I just like... What if fight promoters were just not corrupt pieces of shit and who just took money over the well-being of humanity? What if we lived in a world where like we could just have nice things and enjoy them, Chris? Wouldn't that be a great place?
But what if I told you 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Somebody
what if I told you
had a
10
choice?
years ago the UFC's actively engaging in human rights violations by having Kadyrov at cards? Yeah, that also was a thing. So, I don't know. It could be worse. Kadyrov could have been at the card, I guess, right? Oh, God. Well, on that note, Chris, I feel like that is the great tone setter for us to wrap this on. It's been a fun episode. It's been a giant episode. We love y'all. And, man, weird, strange times we be in. And not just because of the world, but mostly because of how the fuck this sport exists in the world. And I still am amazed by it week by week somehow that it somehow still surprises me how trash everyone involved is.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Chris, anything you want to plug or anything you got coming up?
I'm just trying to live.
Dog, that is the most fucking...
Honestly, like, I see somebody, like, I've seen friends of mine, they're, like, going back to the beach and shit. I'm like, dude, I would love to go to the beach, but I don't trust other people, so I am not doing that right now. I'm actually getting a COVID test tomorrow. I think if I can, I feel fine right now. I'm going to request an antibody test if I can, just to see if I had it.
But also, who knows if those work or if it actually matters? Because evidently, fucking Davis and Figueiredo tested negative, positive, and then negative, and then positive, and then negative within the last 2 months. So, what is that? Because if Davis and Figueiredo did get COVID twice, that's a bad sign for humanity, not just the UFC.
Yeah.
So, who knows, man? Well, on that note, we will wrap this. But as Chris said, go fucking live, but also don't go outside. That's just try and exist. What I would recommend: find a local restaurant that is locally owned near you. Yep. Find out one that has a cocktail to go menu, because most states do. If California's doing it, everybody's doing it. And get yourself some to go cocktails. If you're in San Diego, PSA, if you're in San Diego, the Bally High is doing to-go Mai Tais on Fridays and Saturdays.
Okay,
$50 for Mai Tais and a plate of pokey for $50 to go from the Bally High. If you guys know anything about the Bally High, that is the dopest deal. By the way, you have to call by 10 a.m. because that's when they open up orders, and that's when orders run out. So, call 10 a.m. on Fridays if you're in San Diego. Get yourself some Mai Tais from the Bally High.
And to be fair, Bally High is what, Bay Park, Bishop Bay?
No, Bally High, Shelter Island.
No. Oh, that's right, because I keep thinking Shelter Island, like Point Loma, like in between.
No, it's like Shelter Island, like the tip of Shelter Island. They literally made Shelter Island kind of because of the Bally High.
That's right. Okay.
Because it was to stop waves from coming into the bay.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, it's a cool. The Bally High is like it's the most old school tiki bar, maybe not in the country, because like maybe the Mai Kai and in Fort Lauderdale might be up there, but it's like top 3. I mean, Mutiny on the Bounty was filmed in San Diego, and they used to have a bar on the strip of sand that they would that they made that was basically like an homage that all the actors would go to, and then that eventually turned into what is now the Bally High in San Diego, which is like one of the oldest tiki bars around. So very cool shit. And it's one of the few pieces of culture we fucking have in this city that's not military based. So fucking, you gotta enjoy it, right?
I was gonna joke and you'd say, "Hey, didn't they film part of Top Gun at the Bally High?"
There's also some problematic history with tiki stuff, so let's not get into that either, because none of it's actually Polynesian, and it's all like weird white people adoptions of Polynesian culture, which it's.
Yeah, I'm a native Hawaiian. I was born there.
Well,
bro.
I mean, like, you can't even talk about rum without talking about slavery, because like it doesn't exist without it. So, like, literally, plantation rum is like, yeah, we get it. We're changing our name. Don't worry. So shouts out to them. But anyway. Now that we've rambled and had a long-ass episode on a Sunday, we love y'all, and we love y'all listening. And, man, yeah, like Chris said, live your life, but maybe don't go outside. Or if you do, wear a goddamn mask like a fucking... Just like an adult. Be a goddamn human and respect fellow humans, you fucks. I'm not speaking to anyone in any other country because y'all are responsible adults. I'm speaking to the fucking children who live in my country. God damn it, do better. Right?
Yeah.
All right, well, on that note, everybody, we are out. You guys can always find us at soundviolence.com. Any of the shows we talk about, we'll have linked there. I'll get this chopped up and posted. Always, you can find as well on our YouTube channel. If you go to the playlist that we have, we actually do a playlist every week where you can see all the shows I talk about. And if they're on YouTube, I add them to the playlist. So it's a good resource if you're like throughout the week. Chris, this is also going out to you since you always ask me for shows to check out. If you look at our YouTube playlist for each week, it'll have the episode number, podcast recommendations. So like for this week, it's episode 165 podcast recommendations playlist. Anything I'm listening to throughout the week, I add there. So if anybody's looking for stuff, that's where to find it. And until then, go drink some tiki drinks. Go hug someone you like, as long as they live with you. And until next time, everybody, go do something decadent. We love you. We're out. Leave.
Liked by the sound of violence.